Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Big's Chicken. Try their smoked and fried wings, tossed with a perfect dry rub and served with a killer trio of sauces. Menus at bigschicken.com. First on The Fan, a battle of former Oregon quarterbacks begins Week 16 tonight on Thursday Night Football. Bo Nix and the Broncos, they can clinch a playoff berth with a win at SoFi Stadium against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. That's a 5:15 kick on Prime Video. The Chargers are 2.5-point favorites. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says, quote, will most likely end up playing Patrick Mahomes Saturday against the Titans, despite leaving Sunday's win over the Browns due to what's been called a mild high ankle sprain. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reporting the Chiefs also expected to activate wide receiver Hollywood Brown from injured reserve in time for Saturday, barring any setbacks. Brown has been out since suffering a sternoclavicular injury on the first play of the first preseason game. Over in college ball, former Duke quarterback Malik Murphy transferring to Oregon State, according to ESPN's Pete Thamel. He went 9-3 as a starter this past season and set a school record with 26 passing touchdowns. Murphy will have 2 years of eligibility remaining. And in the association, the Trailblazers back on the court tonight as part of a full slate in the NBA, hosting Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. DeAndre Ayton questionable due to an illness. Delano Banton also questionable with a hip contusion. 7 o'clock tip on K2 Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. The Blazers are 8-point underdogs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's The Fan in your office and every room of your home. Tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
Meringatang is going to be a thing.
You're not coining anything new.
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
I'll throw some monkey sounds in there and call it good.
The old Danny Meringue pie.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
The Fan.
Good afternoon! Hey, he's back from the dead.
Barely.
Barely? Well,
I think at this point he's just that hand reaching up through the soil in the grave.
Pretty much a standard ops, really.
yeah, you got sick.
Yeah, that was the thing that I brought back from DC.
Yeah, well, I mean...
You managed to avoid it.
Yeah, well, I got sick last week.
That's true. You had the deathly eye.
I've been fine. Well, yeah. I kick things relatively quickly too, you know.
Me too, just like my kids.
Yeah, there you go.
Wait, what?
What?
I'm kidding.
What?
We'll mark that for the
That's
cops
a
later.
joke.
I'm a big giant baby when I get sick.
Oh yeah, so you're male.
Yes, we can all say that. Yes.
Yeah, we all get there.
I curled up in a ball yesterday, just started taking pulls on the NyQuil and slept through the day. And
Yeah, really?
yeah, no, I wanted my wife. She's like, why do you do that when you get sick? I'm like, you mean go dead to the world? I want to be like non-participatory when I get sick.
Really?
Yeah, I turn on the TV, curl up in bed, grab the NyQuil, and just go dead to the world.
Yeah, I usually will go like a night where I'll do that. Like I'm going to bed at like 5 or 5:30, but then I have it just ingrained in me to where it's like, if I want to feel better, I'll even go for a run.
Oh, the sweat out version?
Hate doing. Like, I hate running. Like, I quit running track in college because I hated running.
Yeah, see, but that
like,
sounds
I didn't like to run, so I was like, why am I doing this?
That sounds like some footballman mentality.
Well, it's just, no.
Get up, rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, the magic dirt.
Yeah.
No, I think, well, I guess it kind of did start in college. It should be noted, not always great. I have gotten pneumonia, but I mean, like, usually it helps me kind of jump back and kind of get things, like, it boosts your immune system a little bit. I don't know. My wife is huge on that. Like, she will just be like, nope, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to go and work out. So I don't know if it's the football. It may be more the Russian bride.
There you go.
I think that might be more of it, is like, she has, but I had a little bit of it before I met her, and then I got pneumonia.
I've done the what do you call it, the sweat box plenty of times when I've been sick.
Mm.
Do the sauna,
Yeah.
just sweat it out.
Yeah.
I've done that a bunch of times.
Yeah, I've done that with hangovers.
Yeah, see, most of my life just feels like a sweat box. I
There you
run
go.
hot. I sweat.
I mean, this morning I literally just I stood in the shower for like 30 minutes with it like at 1,000 degrees and steamed out everything I could,
Yeah.
just praying that it was enough.
Like this texture, dude, me too. My wife is a beast when she's sick. I can't handle it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, my
I
my wife
mean-
has it right now too, and she's like
Women are tougher than
Yeah,
us.
I
Like we
mean,
couldn't handle childbirth.
Yeah,
biologically.
no, exactly. I was going to say two
there's
words,
no-
giving birth.
There's no way.
Have you ever seen the period cramp simulator thing? Like the pads
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they put on you.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried one of those?
Yeah. Well,
thank
I
you.
have probably not the best thing.
Mm.
Messed around in like the training room.
Oh,
I put some on my abs. I was like, ab workout.
yeah.
And then they cranked it up. I was like, God, this is miserable. They're like, yeah, this is what cramps are like. I was like,
Yeah.
no,
No,
Hard
I
pass.
can't do this.
Hard pass.
There's no way I'm going to be able to do this. So yeah, they're tougher than we are.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not afraid to admit it.
whatever. You know,
I'm afraid to not admit it, actually, because my wife listens sometimes.
dude, I like look. If I have like a meal too high in fiber, I don't want to move for a day or two. You know,
My tummy
Like,
hurts. I got to go lay down.
I couldn't handle having a kid. It's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. All right. Well, happy Thursday, everybody. We are one sleep away from the college football playoff.
Hey,
How we feel about that? That is exciting.
fan freaking tastic.
That is great. We had bowl games last night. Did you watch the Boca Raton Bowl or the LA Bowl with Gronk and a championship belt?
Yeah, no, I
You didn't watch any of those?
I threw them on in the background and may have like thrown my gaze towards it.
Hot
twice.
damn. I love me. I fell back in love with bowl games.
You're a bowl
yesterday.
sicko.
Oh, I
you
love
watch
them.
the bottom of the barrel bowls and you love it.
Yeah, you missed one of the two all-time celebrations. James Madison. One guy's going viral, the other is not, because the first guy, his celebration was great. His name is Spidey. Okay, he's a
Dude-
tight end for James Madison.
Do love me a
Ooh.
good Spidey.
Yeah. And he scored a touchdown and he ran and he did like a 360 and faced the camera and did the Spider-Man shooting the webs.
Ooh.
That was a great celebration, right?
They missed a deal with Disney Jr. calling him Spidey and his amazing friends.
What happened next was all-timer. You usually have like defensive lineman gets a sack and he'll do the bow and arrow thing. James Madison, defensive lineman, he went and he like went back to his imaginary quiver like 7 times, just unloading his bow and arrow.
Just went full Robin
man,
Hood.
like, I mean, it was on repeat. I was like, whoa, how many has he got in that imaginary quiver?
More than Hawkeye.
This is incredible. Like he just kept reloading.
Going a little Katniss Everdeen.
Yeah, and like the officials just kind of looking at it like, all right.
Well, he's not unloading the clip of the gun.
I think celebration penalties. You should just let guys celebrate all they want in a bowl game.
Yes.
Playoff, no, we'll draw a line. Except for the national championship, I think you should celebrations unlimited in,
I want
in the national
celebrations
championship.
to reign supreme. Have fun.
But in a bowl game, especially the Boca Raton Bowl,
Get
yeah,
loose.
give me all of the celebrations. I want all of them. And we got 2. We got the Spidey and then the unloading of the quiver by the James Madison defensive lineman. So, not great football, great celebration in the Boca Raton Bowl. And then UNLV ended up knocking off Cal in the LA Bowl. That's about it. That's my
Those happened.
that's my insight.
And you were tuned in though. Like,
No,
you weren't halfway
not really.
watching. No,
it was,
you
I
were
was half.
watching.
I was really watching the Boca Bowl.
Mm.
I was in and out of the LA Bowl because I saw the end of it.
Mm.
I went home, saw the end of it, but
There's no basketball for me to watch yesterday, so I didn't even like halfway pay attention to basketball. Well, that's not true. I watched some college basketball.
ugh. You watched Doug Gottlieb lose to Michigan Tech.
Womp womp. After he called them nowhere you.
Nowhere you.
I think
Oops.
it was nobody.
Nobody you. My bad.
Nobody you.
Yeah.
Yikes, dog.
Ouch. Couldn't happen to a
Did you
better guy.
see his retort to that?
No.
His retort to that was like,
I'm sure he's plenty spivey.
no, it was like, I wasn't calling Michigan Tech nowhere you or nobody you. He was calling them like a quality opponent because in part of the you want to play high-end teams, you want to play good teams, you don't want to play nobody you. Nobody wants to play nobody you. And so the Division 1 team losing to a Division 2 team, he was saying, "No, they're the quality opponent. They're the superior opponent, right? Like that's the really good team."
Mm.
That was his retort to that.
No,
It's a tough week for Gottlieb.
I watched a little bit of Oklahoma, Michigan. And,
Basketball.
Yeah, and we won't spend any time talking about it, but there's a young man there who's a point guard who is very, very, very fast
At where?
at Oklahoma.
At Oklahoma.
Jeremiah Fears.
Oh, what a great name.
Great name.
All-time name.
He has gone from like, he's a nice player as a freshman to he's in like guys that I talked to the last couple of days. He's in their top 10.
Oh, all right.
He's a
Jeremiah Fears.
You want to talk about a guy flying up draft boards like out of nowhere?
Yeah.
He's one of them, and then LeBaron Philon at Alabama. Those are the two guys that are just
Joe Rogan needs to definitely NIL Jeremiah Fears.
Right,
You need to have fear factor. Yeah.
Fear is not a factor for you.
Yeah. Joe Rogan, I don't know if you know this. I smoke rocks. One of the greatest Chappelle Show
God.
skits of all time.
Was doing that, the crossover of what was the crackhead's name?
Tyrone Bigsby?
Bigham.
No, Tyrone
Bigsby.
Biggums.
Yeah, there you go. No, you're right. It's Biggums.
Yeah, Tyrone
Yeah.
Biggums. I don't know if you know this. I smoke rocks. You can't make that show now.
No, my God, are you kidding me?
No.
We were talking about this
No.
like before, like the day before we left last week, and the idea of like the Chappelle Show. The premise started on him and Neil Brennan were like, okay, we're gonna do this. The first sketch that we do is going to be so far out of bounds that once we do this, we can do everything else.
Uh-huh.
And it was such a great idea, like because if that sketch got on air, there's nothing they can say to anybody else, and they go a black white supremacist.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who divorced his wife. Yeah, they came out of the gate swinging. And that was perfect because that was my freshman year of college. And so like I was watching it with everybody on our floor, right? Like and it was one of the best shows to watch.
I feel like that was the last
all
time
the
we
time.
had true appointment viewing. Like no doubt, dyed in the wool appointment viewing.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
tell you, when I was in college, that was when South Park was basically just starting and
Yeah.
had just started. So yeah, so we all sat around in the main room there of the house, and yeah.
You,
I'll tell you what.
you could argue Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
was probably the last
Yeah,
one, but
yeah.
not everybody had HBO.
Sopranos was one
Yeah.
too. Where
But again, HBO, like
yeah.
Comedy Central. If you had just basic cable, you had Comedy Central.
But that was at a time though where you could strong arm the cable companies and be like, "I'm going to get somewhere else." They'll be
And
like,
they give
"Okay,
you
we'll give
a
you free
deal."
HBO," and you're like, "Okay, we'll stick around."
Yeah.
Yeah, then you got Jim
So-
Carrey harassing you.
Hmm?
The cable guy.
Oh, cable guy.
I see what you
Cable
did.
guy.
Yeah, that's a movie
I didn't feel
we
like
all
that was that
forget.
big of a leap.
I know we all
No,
forget.
no,
we
it's-
all forget.
it
I was
wasn't.
like Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura, Truman. No, Cable Guy.
The best
Yeah.
part about that movie was the
He gave me
scene
the creeps, dude.
at what the hell's the name of that freaking Medieval Times?
That was good. That was
Oh,
good.
that was-
the basketball scene was.
Yeah, that
That
great
was a
too.
runaway.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
dude, good old Medieval Times with some wenches and some chicken. Come on now.
I've never been
Never been?
to medieval times.
They had one up here for a while, didn't they?
They did?
I thought they did.
Not that I know of.
Whoa.
I thought they did. I thought
How did
they
I
did
miss
down
out
in
on
Enchanted
that?
Forest. Didn't they have like a knockoff
At
version of it?
Enchanted Forest?
Yeah, didn't they have like a knockoff version of that?
I don't know. We need to bring it back.
I vaguely remember that. Maybe I'm misremembering. But I know that there's the one in LA because
I'm-
I went to that as a kid.
I mean,
a
in
couple
all
times.
honesty, though, you can just like go to any redneck town and find some medieval times type stuff happening.
Sure. Are you kidding me?
Like it's just like
Dirt bikes and lances?
It's like a 3-wheeler and
Yeah.
a metal rod,
Yeah.
but they'll do it.
Yeah, and you take some steel and you use it as shield. I'm like, no, speaking from any
Yeah,
experience.
they're out there on horses with leaf blowers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, baseball bat wrapped in like
Pillows.
yeah, and then they'll just be like, yeah, this'll work.
Yeah, it deadens the impact.
All right.
It doesn't.
That's what they call mid-American gladiators.
All right, for the next one, we're gonna jump over the bonfire. Woo!
That's okay. Just roll him around. He'll go
never
out.
seen that happen before. Yikes, dog.
Just roll him around.
All right, let's get this show on the road, shall we? We got a lot that we need to get to. 1 o'clock today. Danny Cannell will join us. I think he's our friend now.
Yes.
Danny Cannell, from sworn enemy to friend.
There you go.
Yeah, that's how our relationship has gone. And he was sworn enemy for no other reason than he had a
didn't know he
show
was.
called Dusty and Danny. No,
Yeah.
he didn't know that, but we knew it.
Hmm.
We knew it, and that was the important thing.
Well,
Damn it!
also because Florida State. Just nobody really likes Florida State.
I actually loved Florida State.
Growing up.
Did you?
Yeah.
and let Charlie Ward, Peter Warwick.
I
loved
the
Florida
State and Miami. I loved both
Yeah.
those teams.
Yeah, I was picking up what Florida State was putting down back in the day. Bobby Bowden, just looking old. Like my entire life, Bobby Bowden was old.
Sounding
There's some
Cajun
people
as
who
could
just
be.
always look old.
Yes.
Why did people back in the day
Well,
look so much older?
It's like looking back on when the Golden Girls first started, and the youngest one there, I believe, was supposed to be age 53.
Oh.
That was, I think, Blanche.
Well, that's back when you could retire at 53.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You're just logging a lot of city miles, not as many highway miles back then.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, let's get this thing rolling. Danny Cannell, 1 o'clock. We'll have our NFL picks coming up at 2 o'clock. A loaded show. We've got a lot, including poor ownership in sports. We have college football playoff getting underway tomorrow. We start diving into the college football playoff. Poor Aaron Rodgers. Poor Aaron Rodgers.
No, not poor
hold
Aaron
on.
Rodgers.
No, I say poor Aaron Rodgers because this documentary was supposed to be like, I'm going to prove people wrong. I think he's proven a lot of people right. And so we will talk into the worthiness of the Aaron Rodgers documentary today. But where we got to start, there's no other way to put it. A great day for the Beavs. There is no understating how good this day is for Oregon State. Next on The Fan.
catching crawdads and playing with a stick. I wore lipstick. And I got caught shaving.
Huge news, no other way to put it, for the Oregon State Beavers. They've picked up a commitment from transfer quarterback Malik Murphy. Duke by way of Texas as well. Malik Murphy is 11-3 as a starter over 2 seasons. He went 9-3 with Duke this year and broke their school record for single-season touchdown passes with 26. He's rated the 4th overall quarterback in the transfer portal, a top 25 portal prospect. Malik Murphy coming to Oregon State is massive for the Beavers. And everything that we'd kind of talked about yesterday with where Washington State is, with the mass exodus, with 22 and counting and leaving the portal as of yesterday. Head coach leaves, offensive coordinator leaves, you fire your defensive coordinator, running backs coach, quarterbacks coach, all off of the team. And it was just like, you've got to find a way to find stability. And I was saying yesterday that it was the worst thing is that Washington State has the exodus the year after. The year after the Pac-12 announces that it's going to fall apart. It was with Oregon State, there was this stability that Jonathan Smith, he jumped ship early. Trent Bray was like, nope, I'm going to be here. I'm going to weather this storm. And he's still going to be there at Oregon State. But to get a guy like Malik Murphy as your quarterback, it doesn't matter how the season goes. This is big for, nope, we are still going to play ball. We are still going to be competitive, even in the portal, because having the 4th overall quarterback in the portal, it's not like there were no suitors for Malik Murphy.
No, not only that, it's not like this guy's a scrub.
Nope.
This is
got a good player.
This is a highly rated recruit who, look, when he filled in at Texas for Quinn Ewers when he got knocked down, I thought he was actually pretty good. And I know in college quarterback inconsistencies, but he flashed him. So number one, he's huge.
He's a big dude.
He's a massive dude. He's 6'5", like 230, 240. Like, he's a hell of an athlete. He's got a great arm. And now, again, this probably sounds pretty familiar with, like, the DJ Uyunglele stuff. I think he's a better quarterback than DJ was as a passer.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's got his flaws,
sure.
But yeah, yes.
But when he flashes stuff, it's like, oh, okay. And this is, like, I don't think it's grasping for straws to be like, this is a big-time win for Oregon State. Like, this is a massive win for them because, they could have been relegated to, not to denigrate any of these kids, but, like, a significantly lesser player. Mm-hmm. And now, this probably eats at most of their NIL, I would imagine, as far as, like, the biggest chunk. But, yeah, it should. And, like, this is what you do this. They got the tight end from BYU. Like, you go and get a couple of guys to keep you alive because you look in the remaining Pac-2 at what's going on at Washington State. Washington State right now would probably kill to have Malik Murphy.
Yeah,
like, they would. That's when you're in the position that both those programs are in. You're looking at things like Mateer going to Oklahoma. They've got to patch a pretty significant hole, and being able to get one of these guys, and to be honest, the guys that are in front of him, like. Let's put this in perspective. Like, as far as the rating system goes, he's rated ahead of Miller Moss. Miller Moss wasn't bad at USC.
No.
He just can't be a guy that you ask to throw the ball 40 times a game.
Yeah.
Like, that was the flaw. I was like, yeah, no, he can't be that guy. But if evaluators are looking at him and they're rating him ahead of Connor Weigman and ahead of Miller Moss, who's the last Oregon State quarterback that is a quarterback that was this good? Well, at least potentially.
They've never. He is the highest rated quarterback ever to commit to Oregon State, which is great.
Yeah.
But Oregon State has had some really good quarterback and solid quarterback play. I mean, Sean Mannion played in the NFL for a long time. Jake Luton is still in the NFL.
Yeah, he's still back up somewhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think he played like a week ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had good quarterback play, but this is at the time that this is happening. It's huge for Oregon State, and it's great for Oregon State. And I think it's something for Beaver Nation to look forward to. It is a sign that, nope, we are not going into the gutter, and it's not like, as you mentioned, this is going to take a big chunk of their NIL. No doubt about it. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. It's going to take a big chunk. But at the same time, it is a sign to your fan base that the coaching staff is still going to be aggressive. They are not going to shy away from guys and just look at Malik Murphy who enters a portal and be like,
We can't
no
get him."
chance we can
Yeah.
get him. No, they're going to be
Go after him.
aggressive. They're going to get a guy who fits scheme, that you're going to have to find a quarterback that does fit with what Gunderson wants to do. But he's gonna run. The dude is an absolute unit.
Yes.
You mentioned it. There was that picture, and it's resurfacing and floating around right now. I'll retweet it at Dusty_Hera. It is Malik Murphy and the rest of the Texas quarterbacks shirtless, flexing in the locker room. It's like, hey, who put the linebacker in there?
It's like the,
Arch looks cut, by
yeah,
the way.
It's like the picture of DK next to who was that? The picture that DK was next to the other wide receiver going into the draft. Do you remember that picture?
Yeah,
It was like
it was the other Ole Miss receiver.
yeah. God dang it! I can't remember his name.
But you go.
But you went,
"Buh."
why does one of those look like an absolute super freak that we injected with the super soldier serum, and the other one looks normal?
And then you think
Looks
about
like
it.
original Steve Rogers.
Yes.
Arch Manning is like 6'3", Quinn Ewers is like 6'3", 6'4", and Malik Murphy is just like towering over all these guys. He's a load. This is a good day for Oregon State. There's no other way to put it. And I think it is a good day regardless of what the result is. Okay? And this is a weird thing to say. Regardless of what the result is next year, this is a good sign, and take it for what it is right now. Oregon State went out. They landed the fourth best quarterback in the portal, the highest rated quarterback that has ever committed to Oregon State. It's a good day. It is a good day because the result next year, there's going to be so many things that dictate how this move affects Oregon State. The talent in the roster around him, namely, right?
And do other guys start following?
Yeah, but this is a positive momentum.
Yep.
And we talked about this yesterday, and because Urban Meyer went on the herd, and he said, USC has lost momentum, and that's damn near impossible to get back.
Yep.
Right? When you generate that momentum, then you got to sit there and say, all right, how do we continue to grow on it? How
you get that
can
snowball
we
going downhill.
get something moving forward? Because the recruiting class, when we talked to Andrew Nemec about it, wasn't a good recruiting class.
No.
Okay.
What was the highest they had was like outside the top 1,000?
The average recruit was way down there
Yeah.
for Oregon State. So build some momentum this way. If you were going to become a portal school, okay, and that's where you get some guys, this is a good start to do it. So if I'm a B fan, I'm thrilled.
Yep.
I'm thrilled, and I hope there's more coming. There are rumors that there are more that are coming via the portal, and they're heading Oregon State's way. There are going to be guys who want to play, and they want to play immediately. And for the Beavs, you got to be happy with the first big domino to fall. Malik Murphy, transferring from Duke to Texas. He's got 2 years to play, and when you have a guy like this, fair warning, dude just set a school record for touchdown passes, threw for dang near 3,000 yards at Duke, and he's still transferred.
Yeah.
Right? There's no guarantees you keep him for both of those years, but you're going to get him for this year. Keep the momentum. The hope is that what he said was the reason for going to Oregon State was he felt wanted. He felt like the culture fit him. That's why he's going to Oregon State. You hope that can carry over, and you do have him for 2 years, because that would be a great piece to have moving forward.
Because Duke did bring in Tulane's quarterback.
Yep.
Who, had a
Was I think the number 2
Yeah.
quarterback in the portal.
So
All right. Okay. All right. Beavs get Malik Murphy. That's a good signing. That's a good piece to have moving forward. Hey, do you think your franchise has bad ownership? We'll show you what really bad ownership is. First is Russ with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, serving Portland, Southwest Washington, and the Gorge. Online at aneheatingandcooling.com. It is hard to stop a train. First on The Fan, a battle of former Oregon quarterbacks begins Week 16 in the NFL tonight on Thursday Night Football. Bo Nix and the Broncos, they can clinch a playoff berth with a win at SoFi Stadium against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. 5:15 kick on Prime Video. The Chargers are 2.5-point favorites. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes removed from the injury report and is good to go Saturday against the Texans, despite leaving Sunday's win over the Browns. due to what had been called a mild high ankle sprain. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reporting the Chiefs also expected to activate receiver Hollywood Brown from injured reserve in time for Saturday, barring any setbacks. Brown has been out since suffering a sternoclavicular injury on the first play of the first preseason game. And on the hard court, the Blazers back on the court tonight as part of a full slate in the NBA, hosting Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. DeAndre Ayton questionable due to an illness. Delano Banton also questionable with a hip contusion. 7 o'clock tip on K2 Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. The Blazers are 8-point dogs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan.
Well, if you want to feel like your team is dysfunctional and poorly run, and you want to feel better about that, I give you the story of the New York Jets that came out today. Several, including Mike Silver and Diana Rossini, were part of a report that said Jets owner Woody Johnson nixed a trade for Jerry Jeudy based on the simple fact that Jerry Jeudy's Madden ratings were too low.
Oh. This is real? This is not out of the onion?
No. Apparently.
Sweet Jesus.
Apparently, he has nixed a trade that would have brought Jerry Jeudy to the New York Jets because he went up and he looked at the old Madden ratings and said, "No, he's not good enough, man. He's not good enough." Apparently, there was a left tackle as well that also was not good enough on Madden for the Jets to bring in. So I guess all they do is they bring in the guys who have decent enough Madden ratings, and that is it. It makes me wonder. We have two things that are happening here. One of two is at play. Either Woody Johnson is on the sticks and he plays Madden, or his grandson is actually running the team. Right? Can we all agree on that?
I feel
Like
this
one
is-
of two things is happening here.
I feel like this is how Trader Bob put together that Trailblazers team for those few years.
By just going
Just
on.
going like NBA 2K ratings.
I saw him on NBA Jam and he seemed pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is a level of dysfunction that you go, oh boy, that is not right. According to Bleacher Report, his offseason, this stemmed from his teenage sons, Brick and Jack, who I guess are on the sticks quite often and were not high on Jerry Jeudy.
You're going to trust your kid named Brick?
Yeah. Brick Johnson.
No freaking
I mean, that's a
way.
great name, dude. You kidding me?
That is entirely made up.
Brick Johnson?
I guess the only way you can make that better is like Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, Dick Trickle is looking at that ghastly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unreal. I mean, look, this is meddlesome ownership. Is it any more prevalent than in the NFL?
I mean, it's in every sport.
It's in
yeah.
every sport, but I mean, the NFL seems to take the cake.
NBA is up there too. I mean, Mark Cuban is literally, he used to yell at officials courtside.
Yeah, but I mean, when I say meddlesome ownership, I mean meddlesome ownership in like the most dysfunctional way. Mark Cuban won a title,
Yeah. Well, the Knicks and Dolan.
and what has changed over the last 5 years?
Well, yeah, he got out of the way, but that doesn't mean that he's not been meddlesome. The whole thing about meddling owners is once Paul Allen in the Blazers, once he got out of the way and let basketball people make basketball decisions, the Blazers got better.
It just seems like in the NFL, there's just so many of them right now. I mean, look at the Panthers, the Cowboys, the Jets. Like,
no doubt about it.
Every single bad organization, the Bears.
Bingo. I think there it is. Bad organizations, the Pirates, the Reds, right? That we see this all the time. Like, oh my God, these guys get too good. We can't pay them. We got to they're going to go get out of town, right? Bad ownership is across sports. It is exactly what brings these franchises down and keeps them down. There's no clear line from why the Jets suck to any one reason other than Woody Johnson right now. There's also a story that came out here. This was fantastic. Via The Athletic, the Johnson family's behavior inside the Jets locker room has also become an issue, according to the team and league sources. NFL locker rooms are restricted access spaces, typically limited to players, coaches, and personnel and media members. But Brick and Jack have brought friends, male and female, into the locker room, and current and former players and coaches told The Athletic that Woody Johnson and his wife, Suzanne, and his sons criticized players inside the locker room. In 2022, quarterback Mike White played through broken ribs late in game against the Seahawks with postseason hopes on the line. White played poorly. The Jets lost, and they were eliminated from playoff contention. After the game, with the quarterback in the showers after throwing his helmet on the locker room floor, multiple Jets players said they heard Woody Johnson say, "You should throw your helmet. You effing suck."
I mean, the
team spokesperson said Johnson later apologized.
The other one here is we were in DC and we talked to a bunch of folks that covered the Commanders during the Daniel Snyder era, and this sounds very reminiscent. This is from the Athletic piece from Diana Rossini. Ahead of the Jets-Giants preseason finale at MetLife in 2019, an administrative assistant popped into the team's coaching offices to make an announcement to then head coach Adam Gase and his staff. Woody Johnson then Woody Johnson then serving as a U.S. ambassador to the UK was temporarily returning from London. The assistant said everyone should refer to Johnson as Mr. Ambassador. That has held true long after Johnson left government and returned to his role as Jets chairman in January 2021, striking a discordant tone among those who believe the organization has long been plagued by mismanagement. And we were told by a couple different reporters who are from the D.C. area, covered the Commanders during the Snyder era, that when Snyder walked into the room, he made everybody stand to attention. Like he's a general. And then not only do that, but they were told to not look him in the eye.
Yep.
There is a God complex with these people.
Well, yeah, they're billionaires
But see, the thing is,
who
like-
have just a bunch of yes men around them, and they like. I think a common denominator there is there are billionaires who do not have that kind of ego. I mean, like Steve Ballmer is one of them.
No, but 100%. This is a guy who
Mark
waits in line
Cuban-
for a regular toilet.
Mark Cuban also is one of those guys too,
Mm-hmm.
where they're billionaires. They're out of touch on a lot of things. Matt
Sure.
Ishbia, $2 concessions, right? You have this understanding that, all right, maybe what can we do for normal people?
But he
right?
also played college basketball at Michigan State, so he's got like some semblance of normalcy to him,
well, yeah, Tom Izzo will do that to a person.
right?
He'll beat you down. But there's also these guys that they've never been beat down like Matt Ishbia by Tom Izzo.
Dave Tepper.
Yeah. Right? You get power hungry, and a lot of times you become a billionaire because you are just stepping on everybody.
You're a sociopath.
And you're crushing them into the ground. Dave Tepper, his former boss, bought his house and leveled it just to prove a point. Like you have these types of guys, right? And it's not every owner, but the ones that continually get in the way of their franchises, ding, ding, ding,
They
ding,
share
ding.
the same qualities.
And it's the meddling owner always gets in the way. They always will get in the way of success. And like I think about this from like the Blazers perspective. I think all of the folks that are saying Jody Allen needs to sell the team because she doesn't know what she's doing. At least she's gotten out of the way and just lets the basketball people make basketball decisions. Now, this in franchise decisions, now this is squarely on the shoulders of basketball ops and Joe Cronin, business ops and Dwayne Hankins. But at least she's out of the way. If I'm on Jody Allen needs to sell the team, it's because we know that eventually she has to sell
Yes.
the team. So get rid of it.
But the whole
Right.
like not spending money or
Yeah.
like overbearing and overruling it, like they're pretty much the Vulcan trust, as it were, is pretty much letting Joe and Dwayne do what they think are necessary for the team. Like,
And they're tanking right now because they had to reset and start over, which is something that they had to convince her to do. And
because
they did.
because it hurts the pocketbook. It does. It's that simple.
But with the Jets, this is the other issue with poor ownership in all sports. And I think the NFL, to your point of their meddling owners, are never put in check.
No.
Like by anybody. Baseball has this problem too, where it's like in the NBA, it seems like they almost have all right, hey, let's pump the brakes on this thing.
I think there's two different reasons, and I think they're on each side of the spectrum. In baseball, nobody cares because the money just kind of prints, and it's like, it's there's 162 games, blah blah blah,
Revenue sharing, all that
and
stuff.
I think in the NFL, because it makes so much money, and those guys are so powerful that it's like nobody's willing to check anyone, because if you check one, then you've got to check the other, which means you got to check. Like that's the thing is everyone's like, why does the commissioner do that? It's like, well, number one, that's not what the commissioner does, because the commissioner works for the owners.
Yeah.
Like I think people tend to forget that.
They have no oversight.
No, there's that's the thing is it's faux. There we go. Good. I couldn't say faux to save my life. It's faux oversight because it's the wolf watching the hen house. Like that's all this is. Because if they start checking each other, then one kind of overrules the other, and then it turns into this whole thing. And that's why. And nobody's going to tell David Tepper no, because he's the richest owner in the NFL.
Yeah. Do you think Jerry Jones leaked this because he's just like, oh, I need to get the
I need some
to
cover.
get the heat off me?
Probably. I mean, it's very clear that multiple teams leaked a lot of. Like, if you read the article on the Athletic,
Dude, it
is
pretty damning.
scathing.
Yeah. Which leads us to our next topic, and it is Jets related because it seems like Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys who's never put in check. The Enigma is out, and there was a clip that is going viral that's making me want to watch this thing. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Aaron Rodgers fit in New York is a match made in heaven on the heels of the Woody Johnson report today. You also have The Enigma has been released on Netflix. Aaron Rodgers documentary.
Do they highlight Madden ratings?
Maybe, but I mean, that probably went a long way with getting Aaron Rodgers. You're like, dang, look at his rating on Madden. Golly. But Rodgers in the Netflix doc, which I have initially on the surface, no, I'm out. Don't want to see it. What am I going to learn? Well, one clip in particular has piqued my interest, and now I might want to watch it. And I know what it is going to be. It's going to be a fluff piece for Aaron Rodgers to explain, I'm not that bad of a guy, right?
That's what most of those Netflix docs do.
Yeah.
They try to fluff everybody up on there.
Even Joe Exotic.
Yeah.
Even Joe Exotic. But Aaron Rodgers went down to Brazil with Jordan Poyer, of all people, Astoria's own. He was in this video. And this is Aaron Rodgers on ayahuasca. And I can't get enough of this clip. I've watched this probably 12 times.
The butterfly is just another term for the caterpillar. It's really the caterpillar the entire time. And caterpillar opens his wings and just cannot fucking believe this is my life now. I get to fly around. I get to smell flowers and eat flowers. To live like that. Living your wildest dreams every single day.
He does not open his eyes the entire time. That entire clip, he's talking about this caterpillar.
Tripping all of the balls.
He gets his wings, and he cannot imagine being in a life. This is my life. Just, yes, tripping balls. Tripping balls the entire time. I now want to watch more of The Enigma. I think I'm going to be in. I think I'm going to watch it.
I mean, I say I'll watch it, but to be honest, all these shows like this, I like. It ends up on a list of like I should watch that, and then I don't.
Oh,
my wife probably will.
She'll watch the Aaron Rodgers.
Oh God, yeah, stuff like this. She loves it.
Well, apparently he gets into his family and the falling out with his family, which that won't be one-sided. And maybe we need a follow-up Netflix doc. Maybe this is the prime doc, is you get the other side of the Rodgers family. And you get his parents and his brother being like, okay, well, here's our side of what Aaron had to say. Because that's usually how these things go. But tickle me intrigued if we get more Aaron Rodgers. I want to see now, does he go to the Darkness Retreat? Does he go? Do we get to see Rodgers with like night vision camera?
Yes.
In Ashland, in the little hole?
In his little hobbit house?
Yeah.
Man.
He's a weird dude.
Yes.
His greatness cannot be denied on the football field.
No,
he's really good.
Quite literally in the discussion for top 5 quarterbacks of all time.
But he is also in the top 5 of all time discussions on why we should not hero worship athletes.
No, 100%. Never meet your heroes is such a like drastic thing, and it's so real.
Yeah.
It's most of like, I can't imagine how many New England kids looked up to Aaron Hernandez.
I don't know if he was there long enough, but yeah, being from Connecticut and then, going to Florida and they're like, I love Aaron Hernandez. Wrong.
I mean, or just go down the list of just terrible people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, Michael Jordan was the biggest star on the face of the planet. Michael Jackson was the biggest star on the face of the planet.
We still prop up Ray Lewis.
Was like at worst tangentially related to a murder.
You know what we can do?
3 years in the NFL for Aaron Hernandez.
How about Urban Meyer?
Yes.
Overseeing that Florida program and all of the cover-ups where it's like everybody who has been at a stop that Urban Meyer's been at is like, yeah, there's always a mess to clean up. But they're like, yeah, really good coach. It's crazy.
I mean, you just go down the list. Like, the more successful somebody is, the more likely that they're absolutely insane, unhinged, and off the rocker crazy.
That's why when I met my childhood hero, Craig Biggio, it was awesome because he lived up to it. Like Biggio was the guy. Like he was awesome.
Do you remember? Do you remember when you were on the Astros?
It was like, yeah, almost. I felt like that.
It was awesome.
So cool. Ah, yeah, it was. But yeah, don't meet heroes. I've also heard though that Aaron Rodgers, if you get him in a one-on-one where like you don't know he's Aaron Rodgers, is actually pretty normal.
Well, and also while I was trying to fix that audio there to get the bleep in that I forgot to do, he didn't open his eyes the entire time.
Yeah, no, he did not.
Yeah.
I mean, as one is wont to do while tripping balls.
You're damn right. You're damn right.
If somebody gave you the opportunity to do the ayahuasca retreat, paid for everything, would you do it?
No.
I don't think so. I've heard it's kind of awful.
I mean, like, look, I like my good times.
You puke and you
Out both ends.
both ends. Yeah. That doesn't sound great.
I like my good times, but I like to kind of try to stay in control a bit too. You know what I mean? Of my emotions.
You like to have your hands on the steering wheel?
Well, and a lot of people say that they do it to, you know, whether it's kick addiction or exercise some demons in your life and get exercise trauma out. I don't think I'm there with really anything right now. You know, I've buried it all pretty well.
Yeah. I mean,
mind-boggling, isn't it?
The closest I've come to like even discussing some of it when we were in DC, we ran into the former CIA agent, and that was the closest I've come.
Pretty
to,
sure
like,
you can't share his name.
Her name.
Yeah,
her name. Whatever.
But no, like we were in the same places kind of at the same time, and Dusty watched kind of both of us cackle like schoolgirls, and he's like, "Is this what this is supposed to be like?"
Yeah, no, okay. You guys were laughing over things that normal people don't laugh at. Let me just get that.
Do you remember when that grenade went off in
Let
Fallujah?
me cover that base really quick. Yeah, I was looking at this lady's husband. And I'm like, do people call her a serial killer too? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, pretty great. The look on your face was
saying
perfect.
a lot of things without saying anything at all, and I was just like, okay, yep, I get it. Okay, all right. Let's get to hour number 2 of this program. Let's talk some college football playoff. Danny Cannell will join us. Yeah. We're going to talk college football playoff. Gets underway a day away from the college football playoff. 12-team field officially getting underway. Danny Dusty on the Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, a battle of former Oregon quarterbacks begins Week 16 in the NFL tonight on Thursday Night Football. Bo Nix and the Broncos, they can clinch a playoff berth with a win at SoFi Stadium against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. 5:15 kick on Prime Video. The Chargers are 2.5-point favorites. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes removed from the injury report. He's good to go apparently Saturday against the Texans, despite leaving Sunday's win over the Browns due to what's been called a mild high ankle sprain. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reporting the Chiefs also expected to activate wide receiver Hollywood Brown from injured reserve in time for Saturday, barring any setbacks. Brown has been out since suffering a sternoclavicular injury on the first play of the first preseason game. Former Duke quarterback Malik Murphy transferring to Oregon State. According to ESPN's Pete Thamel, he went 9-3 as a starter this past season and set a school record with 26 passing touchdowns. Murphy will have 2 years of eligibility remaining. And the Trailblazers back on the court tonight as part of a full slate in the association, hosting Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. DeAndre Ayton questionable due to an illness. Delano Banton also questionable. He's got a hip contusion. 7 o'clock tip on K2 Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. The Blazers are 8-point dogs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Danny Meringue.
I found 2 empty bottles of a particularly decent Chateau Noir Bordeaux 57 in your rubbish.
Dusty Hera.
You went through my garbage?
This is Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app.
I find it particularly offensive that you use them to wash down an order from something called Macho Taco.
And Portland's sports leader, 1080.
I would never drink a Bordeaux with a Macho Taco.
The Fan.
It was a burrito machissimo.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Thursday afternoon. Thanks for being part of our day, letting us be a part of yours, whether it is on 1080 AM, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan, or youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan. Party on, you party animals over there on the YouTube stream, which is usually popping off right about this time. Let me check the chat. Oh, boy. Yep. Always getting sideways on the YouTube stream. Joining us now from Dusty and Danny in the mornings, which is not us. We're switched. We're Danny and Dusty, and we're in the afternoons. Danny Cannell, courtesy of our friends at Bet Online. Go to Bet Online for updated college football playoff and bowl game lines. Danny, how you doing, man?
What's up, boys? How's it going, man? Congrats on the season for the Ducks, Big Ten champs. I mean, that was incredible first year in the Big Ten from them. I missed you guys at the Big Ten championship game at Indy, but it was fun. And now the real fun begins with the playoffs tomorrow night. I can't wait, man. I'm fired up to be on with you guys.
Look, they kept you guys like corralled over on the opposite sideline at the Big Ten championship game. I was trying to get over to where you guys had your set, but you guys, they broke that thing down, and you guys like vanished very quickly during the Big Ten championship game.
Well, we had sort of a that was the plan all along, because we weren't doing a post-game show. But I will say this, we had kind of a weird situation. We have 2 females that I work with. They're awesome. Jordan Giorgio and Mackenzie Brooks. Great girls, incredibly smart. They are attractive. And there was one guy that was kind of harassing them, so they did beef up the security a little bit. So I don't know how close you guys would have been. We should have like exchanged numbers or something, because I could have got you in there behind the scenes a little bit. But it was really cool. It was and I tell you what, I don't know how you guys felt. What would you have put the percentage of Ducks fans? I mean, it felt like a Penn State home game. And Oregon, I knew it was going to be challenging because of what was upcoming and knowing they were going to be in the playoff. But that was a road environment for Oregon to play, and it didn't faze them one bit.
Yeah, I would say, like, I came back and I said it was 70-30, but I'd say it may have been closer to like 80-20. Yeah, there was a lot of Penn State.
My guess was 80-20.
Yeah.
And like I'm buddies with, and this is, I don't want to sell him out because he might, if it gets back to people, but he is a former Oregon Duck quarterback. But Tony Graziani, we're boys. Like we played together in Atlanta, and I wanted to catch up with him. I said, hey, are you going to Indy for the Big Ten championship game? And he said what I think a lot of Oregon fans were thinking was, oh, we waited too long. We didn't get tickets. We're planning on going to the Rose Bowl. So they're looking ahead, and which that's the thing that sucks about, the expanded playoffs. It's hard on fans, man. It's expensive for anyone. Yeah. And to have to travel to Indy for a game that I know it's a Big Ten title, but it's not the prize that you're playing for. If I was a fan, I would have done the same thing. Yeah. Not to knock Indy or anything, too, but I'd probably rather go to Pasadena than Indianapolis.
I talked to Graz this week. It's funny that you mentioned Graz. I talked to Graz this week. He was on our podcast, The Program, and I said, you going to the Rose Bowl? He said, no, my couch is too good. His kids are going. He's like, we'll catch up down the road, though. We're gonna hopefully.
He keeps saving up for them. I mean, I guess is he going to go to Atlanta for the Natty? I mean, what's he doing? He must feel pretty confident.
No. That's not Graz, but right. He's going down the road of, you know what, the kids will go this one, and if the Ducks can get past whoever, Ohio State or Tennessee, he's like, maybe we'll get there. And we'll go to whether it's the Cotton Bowl or Atlanta, but he'll end up at one. He's at every home game though. Graz is a great dude.
Yeah, he is.
Let's talk about this playoff because Oregon's path is not easy by any stretch, and we get this thing going with the first round coming up this week. What did you make though of the bracket, the way that it broke in Oregon's path? Because it'll go through either Ohio State or Tennessee, Texas, Clemson, or Arizona State, and then potentially playing Georgia in Georgia at the end of this thing.
So I don't love it, but I'm also not that upset about it. Like, I know Joel Klatt with Fox was like, really emphatic, like this has to be fixed. Like, and by the way, I love Dan Lanning's approach where he's like, hey, my players just give us a parking lot. We'll show up and play anybody. We don't care, which I do think is the right mindset. And like, if you are the number one seed, and they are, and they've earned it, they've deserved it, it's not even close. That was like the one thing there was absolutely zero debate over, was who was the one seed. In a seeded tournament, it is supposed to be where you have the biggest advantage. I do think there's one thing that people are not taking into consideration because people have talked a lot about the seeding where the 5 and the 6 seeds, Texas playing against Clemson at home and Penn State playing against SMU home. And both of them are, Penn State's an 8.5-point favorite, Texas a 10.5-point favorite. Like, people are saying, oh, and especially for Penn State, they're saying what an easy path they have. They do have to play an extra game. Like, that is something I don't think people are – I think people are just glossing over the extra game. Like, what happens if Drew Aller gets hurt and, like, you're without him? Like, because you were in a football game against SMU, which, yes, you should win. But the other thing I've learned from college football this season is, like, we might think they're a 10.5-point favorite in Texas and against Clemson, but they could get beat. Like, you still are subjecting yourselves to a potential loss and an extra game. So I still think you benefit the teams that get a bye. So I think that helps. But the thing that screwed up to me is, and I apologize to Boise State fans, I feel like I've been hard on them. They have absolutely zero business being a 3 seed. And I would say probably the same for Arizona State being a 4 seed. Like, they're not, and especially Boise, like, that is a group of 5 program. It is a different level. And I am thrilled, and I've always campaigned for a group of 5 team to get a seat at the table. I just don't think they should be at one of the heads of the table, which is basically what they've been given. I don't think their schedule is anywhere close to what some of these other teams have faced, and I think it's unfair. And if you solve that, if you did just seed the teams or re-rank them, I know that was something Joel Klatt had said to do after the first round, I think that would make sense. But since you can't do anything about it, like, why complain about it? Which is why I love Dan Lanning's approach. Like, I've loved everything Dan Lanning has brought to Oregon, including a mindset, which I think is a championship mindset. So I think they screwed it up. I'm not that upset about it. I still think if Oregon's the best team in the country, which I do, I think they'll win it all.
Danny, when you look at this, and even if they did not get it quite right, with the way the seeding has gone, do you see any potential for there to be that Cinderella team? Does Boise State have a path? Does Indiana have a path? Like, does anybody outside of the true blue bloods or the teams that have kind of pushed their way to the top really have any kind of path that you could see where in the first year of the college football playoff, you have a team that makes it, not necessarily to even, winning the title game, but even getting to the semis or making it to the title game?
Yes, I do. Now, if you had me pick one, and this is where it's kind of like the NCAA basketball tournament when you pick your bracket, like, I have 2 upsets happening, and it'll probably screw it up because I'll probably have the two wrong ones, right? So I have Clemson beating Texas, which ironically is the biggest point spread of the first round. And then I have Indiana beating Notre Dame. I think Indiana's probably the one I can envision doing some damage, especially I think it's kind of interesting that we've just glossed over Georgia, potentially losing their quarterback, Carson Beck. Right. Oh, it's no big deal. They're still the third best odds to win the national championship. And I'm like, really? And I get he hasn't been great this season, and he's had multiple games where he's had 3 interceptions, and he's been a little bit up and down. But did anybody notice that Gunnar Stockton did throw a costly interception against Texas when it was 3rd and 13 and, had that game in overtime because of it? To me, and Georgia fans are they're fine with it too. Oh, we got our guy. We love our backup. Backup's a whole different scenario. We haven't seen him play very much. And there's a lot different scenario, and this is speaking somebody who primarily was a backup throughout my NFL career. It's kind of easy to come in the game when somebody gets hurt. You are thrust in there. You don't have time to get nervous. You just go out there and you just execute and you do your job. Now that you potentially have to sit on the knowledge that you're starting for 3 weeks or 2 weeks, that is a different animal. You start to play those mind games and you're mentally, the stress builds up and you think about it. And some guys thrive under that, but some guys crater under that pressure. So that's the one unknown. But back to your question, if I had to pick one, I'd probably say Indiana. I think Indiana could beat. I actually have them beating Notre Dame. And then I could envision a scenario where if Georgia's not as dominant as they were, who's to say Indiana couldn't beat Georgia? It's wild, but we've seen Georgia play down to competition. We saw them lose to Ole Miss, 28-10. And what if it's Carson Beck or the backup? What if they throw some interceptions? I could see that happening. And then the other team that I had winning against Texas was Clemson. And I had Clemson advancing all the way to the semis before it comes to an end against Oregon. I do have two powerhouses. I do have Oregon facing Georgia in the championship game, and I have Oregon winning it all because I do think depth matters. And while there's been a lot of parity and there's been talent spread out throughout, the SEC and Big Ten and college football in general, those teams are still deeper. We've seen Oregon lose a Jordan Burch for a significant portion, and it hasn't fazed them. We've seen Georgia lose Tate Ratledge, one of their best offensive linemen for a month of the season, didn't faze them. There's going to be a gauntlet that teams have to go through to win 3 or 4 games. You're going to lose guys to injury. And those are the teams that I feel are most equipped to deal with some of those guys getting hurt or just dinged up where they're not the same player and you need to rely on some depth.
Danny Kanell is our guest, courtesy of Bet Online. Check out Bet Online for updated college football playoff and bowl game lines. You mentioned Georgia had the 3rd best odds. The team that kind of surprised me is the team that you have getting upset. Texas has the best odds right now to win the championship. Is that do you think because largely public money's coming in, or is there really the talent, the roster? It just says Vegas is looking at it going, all right, the Longhorns are supremely talented. If they can just run the football and Quinn Ewers can at times get out of his own way, they can just have this easier path.
So I think some of it has to do with the path. That 5 seed is a sweet spot. Clemson is sort of, I like Clemson because I'm probably partial to Dabo Swinney, but they're almost playing with house money. When they lost to South Carolina, they thought their season was done. And then all of a sudden they get new life and they beat a really good SMU team and pretty much handled SMU. SMU clawed their way back to make it respectable and almost get it to overtime. And I think Clemson's got sort of that roster that has depth, like I was talking about. That is a traditional blue blood. They have been competitive. They haven't had a bad season the last 10 years. By their standard, they have, but they really haven't had a bad season. The analytics, the data, the models love Texas because of their roster. A lot of people have talked about Ohio State's $20 million roster. Not a lot of people have talked about Texas's $22 million roster, right? That's kind of flown under the radar. And the defense has been spectacular. But I think Clemson can play them in sort of a defensive struggle type game. I like the under in that game too, by the way, in the Clemson-Texas game, probably more than the outright upset. But I for Texas, yes, they've got all these players, and yes, they have a lot of talent, and Quinn Ewers can be good at times. but they have not been tested. Like, I get that they finished the season with 2 losses, but the 2 losses came against really the only great team that they played against, or I would say borderline good. Like, what is their best win? Is it Vanderbilt, who finished the season as, a bowl eligible team? It's probably Texas A&M on the road, a game which was 17-7, and like Texas A&M didn't play great in that game. I don't know. I think something's off with Quinn Ewers too. I don't know if he's 100% healthy or if it's still his ribs, like the oblique injury that's bothering, or the ankle where he's wearing that massive like ski boot for his ankle. But he just feels off, and I think they could be ripe for an upset. As much as we talked about Ohio State and kind of the stressful environment that could be, if that game is ugly, Texas is a fan base which has high expectations. I could hear them getting a little restless. And I think Clemson is just playing with house money. They could play loose and free because nobody's picking to win, including, the odds makers and the point spread. I think that game's ripe for an upset.
Former quarterback, you're the perfect person to ask about this because you mentioned the ankle, you mentioned the oblique and rib injuries to Quinn Ewers. It seemed like in the SEC championship game especially, everything was like a 3-ball, right? It's just kind of floating everything in there. How much is that playing in, do you think, to the ankle and oblique, and which one is the bigger injury to lead to that?
I think it's his oblique because, like, your ankle, you can stabilize it, and maybe it's a pain tolerance thing. And he hasn't been very mobile throughout his entire career, so it's not like you're missing much there. But the oblique is something because his ankle was recent. I think he hurt that against Kentucky. But like when I watched him play against Georgia the first time around, or when I watched him play against Vanderbilt, he just has not really let it rip. And I think he is a quarterback who comes out. I mean, he's a 5-star, one of the highest touted quarterbacks coming out of high school. And we saw it last year against Alabama. We saw it even this year against Michigan, where he would stretch the field vertically. Like, they want to throw the ball deep. They are a big play offense, and yet they haven't taken many shots down the field. His average depth of target is one of the shortest in the entire country, at the Power 4 level. Like, they don't throw it very deep. And it could be because they've had injuries at receiver. Like, Isaiah Bond, their best receiver, has been hurt. But like, Gunnar Helm, their tight end, has been their most productive receiver. And like, that's why I just have a hunch that oblique is something that really takes a long time to heal. And it is something that you use a lot of your torso and your core when you're throwing the ball and rotating, especially when you're trying to throw it deep down the field. Like, I still have a hunch. One thing I do think could see happen, but I thought it would happen in Atlanta in the SEC championship game, but it didn't. I thought they would use Arch Manning more than they did. And I still wonder if that's something that Sark has been waiting on for the playoffs when they have to win it. Because even in the SEC championship game, you kind of know we got to win more games to win the ultimate goal. Like, I still wonder if there's an Arch Manning package where they utilize him a little bit more, especially if Quinn struggles the way he has with turnovers. I mean, he still threw for 350 against Georgia, but he had the 2 costly interceptions, and he missed a lot of open guys. I still wonder if Sark goes to Arch in that situation.
Danny, kind of backing it out to like 30,000 feet here, when you look at the way that the 12-team playoff is kind of as laid out, and you look at the teams that are in there and the players that are at the very top end, it feels like even 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the depth was so concentrated in a couple different teams. You know, Kirby Smart's Georgia team had, 18 guys that were just absolute dudes on that defense, where you just went, yeah, that's an NFL defense. And then the next year they come back and they've got another, dozen guys on that team. But with the proliferation of NIL and the kind of the diaspora of talent going out and around, do you feel like the changing of the guard in college football is finally taking place, and where the, not necessarily lack of depth, but just the spreading around of top end talent is just more proliferate than it's ever been?
Yes, I do. I agree with you, although I don't think it'll necessarily change the national champion. Like, look at the teams we're talking about. They're still the richest programs, right? Oregon spends a lot. Texas spends a lot. Ohio State spends a lot. Georgia spends a lot. And those are the teams that I probably, if you said those group, like, I would say probably the national champions coming from that group of 4. But what I love, there's a couple things I love. One, it gives a program like Indiana a ton of hope and an opportunity to potentially be that Cinderella. But you know who else it gave hope to this season? A program like South Carolina, who I get they didn't get in, but they had a meaningful game in November, late November, last weekend of the season. When I say meaningful, like playoff spot on the line on the last weekend of the season. And that would also go for Miami, who got beat on that game, kept them out of the playoff. You had, BYU later than ever. Iowa State playing in the Big 12 championship with a chance. That's the 18th ranked team. There are so many more teams that actually feel like they have a chance. And they can get in, and even though they might not be able to run the table and win 3 or 4 games, they can still have that hope of playing for a national championship. With the 4-team playoff and even more so in the BCS, there were probably 8 teams every year. He said, yep, they can play for it. Anybody else, thanks for coming. Enjoy your bowl, whatever bowl it's going to be, but you have no chance at the table. Now you've got teams with a seat at the table, and I do think we're going to see upsets at some point in the playoff. So I do think that talent has spread around a lot more than it ever has, and I do think it's great for the game that you've got new players at the party. Like Tennessee, Penn State has never had a chance. They've been close, but they never had a chance to make the 14 playoff. Now they're in. They can silence a lot of critics. I think it's awesome. Boise State and Arizona State, 2 teams nobody saw, especially Arizona State. I mean, they were a 4-win, their win total was 4.5, and here they are with, an opportunity to win, a playoff game, and they sit and watch the first weekend. Those things are great for college football because now we've included the entire country, not just either the Southeast or the, Big Ten country with Ohio State or Michigan. Now we've opened this thing up to an entire country, which I think is very healthy for the sport.
Danny Cannell, courtesy of our friends at Bet Online. You can hear him, Dusty and Danny, in the mornings, 6 to 9 a.m. That is 3 to 9 a.m. our time here. Or 3 to 6 a.m. That's really early.
You might have to listen on the app. You might have to listen on the SiriusXM app.
You can also get him on the Cover 3 podcast as well,
That's
which
right.
if the Ducks are able to win in the Rose Bowl, you guys are doing a live show from Fort Worth the day before the Cotton Bowl. So
yeah,
there's an opportunity for Duck fans to go out and watch the Cover 3 podcast. Danny, thanks for the time, man. Always appreciate it.
You guys are fantastic. Great catching up. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Danny.
There he is, Danny Cannell. Interesting stuff there, especially he's got Texas being upset by Clemson in the middle game on Saturday in Austin, where Cade Klubnik will be returning to his hometown. And I remember this game because our boss, Jeff Alston, he came in and he was like, hey, Texas 6A state championship game, it's got 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country playing in it. And I was like, oh, yeah? And he's like, South Lake Carroll versus Westlake. And I was like, oh. Cade Klubnik versus Quinn Ewers in the 2020 state championship game in 6A.
They do call high school football down there a little bit different.
Yeah.
Those 2 schools, by the way, both have stadiums that would rival most colleges in the country.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But he's got Klubnik beating Ewers in the rematch of that 2020 Texas high school state championship game.
Hey, it's all coming up Clemson right now. They have now.
Yeah, they went to the portal again. I was gonna go and tease that because Dabo Swinney is a man who is not afraid to contradict himself. Let's get to that next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Hello, sport.
Dabo Swinney is totally okay with being a walking, talking contradiction. We know this about him. He said the day that college players get paid is the day he's going to go and find something new to do. Oh, he's still coaching. He's actually coaching in the college football playoff this Saturday. Like 48 hours from now, he will be coaching a football game in Austin, Texas in the college football playoff. He also said the portal isn't something that they're going to use, and they will not utilize it. Well,
About that.
yep. We now have 2
The seal is broken.
portal entries.
Not 1, but 2.
To Clemson. I was going to say the University of Clemson. To Clemson University. The first one was a wide receiver from, I think it was Southwest Missouri State, who they're like, yep, I'm going to go ahead and swoop him up. But this one is a big one in of consequence. Southeast Missouri State wide receiver Tristan Smith that they got. Today, Dabo added the first ever defensive transfer via the portal. And he's actually going to be a dude, and he's going to be a player. They got Will Helt, the defensive end from Purdue. He's a player, man.
What could you say he might help?
Helt will help.
Will help?
He will do that.
Oh, really, just one letter off being a fantastic name.
He's going to have to use that to run for Congress someday or something,
Mm-hmm.
local political office.
Help for help.
Yeah.
He will do it.
See, there we go. You got it.
Yeah, yuck it up.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah. It's oh god. I wouldn't vote for him just for that reason.
Wow.
Could be
Somewhere in the South
could be the
that'll
best
work.
candidate.
Mm.
But look, it's an exodus out of Purdue. Dylan Thieneman came to Oregon, the safety, just basically portal opened, and he was like, "Yep,
see you later, bye."
And now Will Helt is headed to Clemson. Dabo, he may be corny. He's no dummy.
Yeah. Ah, gosh, I guess I'll do it.
Well, he knows that in this landscape, this is how he's going to have to win. If he wants to cash the $11 million a year check that he gets from Clemson.
And not have to give $4.5 million of it back to compensate.
Like Mike Norvell. Look, you get the portal is an asset. And I think there's so many coaches that refuse to adapt and change with the times. Right? We talked about this with the youth movement in the college football playoff, and you look at the personalities, and Dabo is a dynamic personality that can still relate to young people.
He's also one of only 3 active coaches with a ring.
He is also a guy that will adapt. He always has. And it can be a walking, talking contradiction.
Do what he does, watch what he does, not what he says.
But at the same time, he's also going to adapt with the times, and he is going to find a way to win because he's a competitive SOB. He's not a guy that could jump to the NFL and people would be like, yeah, that works in the NFL. Dabo would get eaten alive in the National Football League. But he is an incredible college coach because he's a leader of young men. And you know, you may not buy what he's selling, but what he sells, it works at the college level. And as long as you're willing to adapt, you're going to be able to survive. And what we are seeing is Dabo Swinney is adapting to this current age of college football.
And you know,
no doubt about it.
It's you do what you got to do. If it's survive or die.
Yep.
It's really what it comes down to.
Nick Saban didn't want to do that.
No.
I mean, and he was like, I have nothing else to prove. I don't want to live this life. I'm out.
And you can't go see him go be a coordinator somewhere like Chip did.
And I don't blame him for it.
No.
Well, and Nick Saban doesn't want to give up the hot tub time because that's daddy time.
It is daddy time.
It's daddy time.
It is daddy time.
So
no eating in the house.
You know, we talked about ownership in sports and things going wrong. Did you see what happened with the Charlotte Hornets the other day?
Okay, I saw this story, but I didn't ever get any details about this story.
Okay.
They wronged a child.
They wronged a child. Yes, the
Okay.
Charlotte Hornets have wronged a child.
All right.
They're trying to make it right, but is it too late? We'll get to that in our Worst Day on the Web. But first, here's the Big Kahuna with the Sports Center update.
You mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this down?
It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Well, that sucks.
Speaking of terrible ownership and making bad decisions, poor choices.
Does Woody Johnson own the Hornets?
No, they've actually been recently sold. Remember, Michael Jordan sold off his majority shares, and new ownership took over and brought in a new front office, new
Michael
coaching
Jordan
staff.
would never do this.
No, he wouldn't. And what happened, did you suppose? Well, they did a timeout bit where they had Hugo the Hornet. That's the big stuffed hornet mascot. One of the best looking mascots in sports.
Great mascot.
It's a fantastic mascot. But apparently that mascot is cheap. As they brought a kid down from the stands for a Christmas-themed celebration where he was basically Hugo the Santa.
Yes.
And, asked the kid who kind of what he wanted, and then it turns out, I've got what you want here in this bag, a PlayStation 5.
Well, it's actually, this is multiple kids they did this to. Multiple kids were brought down as part of like a Hugo Santa bit, and they didn't tell any of the kids that it was a bit and that they weren't going to keep anything. So the first kid goes out and they give him a custom autographed, exclusive Brandon Miller autographed jersey. Okay. Kid walks off and they say, yeah, no, that's ours. We're taking that back. Kid starts crying, like just waterworks immediately. And so they're like, okay, you could just keep it. Next kid, something else. Kid doesn't cry. They take the gift, though. Third kid, and this is according to apparently one of the parents, had text with this guy who is the uncle of the kid who got the PS5 taken away. So I'm assuming that this is the mother of the child got the PS5. She said, we didn't know what was going on until like 30 seconds before we walked out on the court. The last kid was like a skit, but the first two were not. And we didn't even know what was going on with the last kid when we walked out. They did like a whisper to me that they wouldn't get to keep whatever they got, but they didn't tell the kids this. The first kid got a Christmas-themed Brandon Miller jersey, and they tried to take that away, and he started crying. They ended up giving it to him. The cheerleader who was with us had no idea we had to give the PS5 back, so she started getting Jack excited about it and asking if he wanted to keep the bag and everything like that. And this guy just like came up and was trying to take it away, and the cheerleader and others thought he was joking, so it got super awkward.
Good gravy.
So nobody knew. So I'm assuming Hugo the Hornet didn't know, because the cheerleaders who were accompanying the kids out on the court
didn't know.
They had no idea. Apparently, right as the kids were walking out, somebody comes up to the parents and is like, they're not going to get to keep this. And then you send your kid out.
Who thought it was a good idea to do this?
What
the hell is going on?
Well, why are you doing any of this?
Yes, what would get into your brain to make you think this is a good idea?
Yeah, well, what was the point outside of faking everybody else in the arena, which the Hornets are dreadful, so it probably wasn't even a sold-out arena. No. Outside of getting those 13,000 people maybe to go, hey,
they hook some kids up with some cool
we're
stuff.
giving all these kids all this great stuff and making other kids in the arena jealous for not getting picked. What was the point?
Strategery.
So PS5 retails, I think, for $4.99 right now, and the jersey it's having your player sign it. It's nothing. That's part of cost of doing business.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to media day for any team, you should see the tables of merchandise that are laid out that each player has to sign. It is tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. I'm talking entire rooms that are bigger than most people's houses, filled with stuff that they are giving away.
Do you think we'll ever get one of these from the Charlotte Hornets? Do you think we'll ever get one of these from the Charlotte Hornets?
It was me!
Well,
No.
they kind of did, but they even went just stupidly corny in their statement that they ended up releasing. Listen to how dumb this sounds. This is a statement directly from the Hornets. During last night's game, there was an on-court skit that missed the mark. You think?
What was the skit part of it?
That we're lying about giving cool stuff to kids? Okay, Grinch. Also, miss the mark. Your PR team needs to do there's no responsibility taken in this. It missed the mark. What mark? Tell me what is the mark that you're trying to hit?
Well, I think
I made a huge mistake.
I think the marks are the kids in this, but it's more of like a criminal mark.
Then it goes further. The skit included bad decision making and poor communication. No, it was in poor taste.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I think
You
the
were
poor
in the
decision
wrong.
making is they hit the nail on the head there.
Simply put, we turned the ball over and we apologize.
Oh, they got
Throw
cute.
me into traffic.
Yeah, they got cute.
Oh no! We suck again!
Poor decision making and poor communication. The 2024 Charlotte Hornets. But is the poor communication the fact that they didn't say immediately, hey, you're going to go on court for an on-court promotion. We're going to give you something and you don't get to keep it, but we're going to pretend like we're giving it to you. Is that the poor communication? Because that's a poor decision too. And golly, the Hornets. See, Blazer fans, you don't have it that bad. If the Blazers don't even bring the kids down to give that stuff away. If they were to bring the kids down to give that stuff away, they'd actually get to keep it.
Well, you know the only way the Hornets make this right.
Pay that man his money.
They are. They're giving him the PS5.
They
He's
should.
getting the PS. He should get games too. He should get all the games.
Yeah.
And he should get another. They all should
Like
get
a year
everything.
or two subscription to whatever live service.
They should get the Brandon Miller jerseys. They need to make this right in a big way. The VIP experience to a game. Yeah, I think that is at the very least something you can do because that costs the team nothing.
Zero. That's the bare minimum right there.
Nothing.
That is the bare minimum.
Wow. That's brutal, dude.
We've reached out to the family committed to not only making it right, but exceeding expectations. We were providing the fan with a PS5 that he should have taken home along with a VIP experience to a future game. Our goal is and will remain to elevate the guest experience at Earth Person and Spectrum Center and to show our fans how much we appreciate their relentless support.
I mean, when you have encore giveaways like that, it doesn't make like a $15 beer seem that bad. You know? I mean, that's robbery. This is like manipulating and crushing the soul of a kid.
See, what I want to
A
see.
PS5 for a kid is a huge deal.
Oh, it's
too.
huge. What I want to see is all these kids get that prize that they were awarded, and then when it comes down to the VIP or experience of the game, just say,
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take my PS5, thank you very
Or
much.
maybe like a public shaming of the employee who came up with the idea.
There we go, yeah, like a caning.
The thing that is incredible about this
Go
is
on.
that any of these promotions, there are so many levels and conversations and dumb meetings that they have to pass.
have to go through?
They're like, yeah, this is a good idea. They're like, but we don't have to give anything away, actually. They're like, yes, now we are in. Let's trick the children.
Somebody galaxy brained this so freaking hard.
Tell
It
you what.
speaks so drastically ill of the people in the decision-making
And
process.
so many people had to approve it.
They're going to be on the naughty list.
Just
I'll tell you that right meow.
the whole idea of like, hey, we need to make
One-way
cuts.
ticket.
You know what we should do? We should make children feel our pain instead.
Yeah. Michael Jordan would never.
He would never even think to.
Who
give something
bought
away.
that team?
I can't remember. It's two guys that bought the majority share from him.
Yeah. And they had they didn't do anything for this.
Because Jordan
but-
bought it from the BET dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob, who named the team the Bobcats.
Yeah. Which, hey,
After
I
him.
mean, you know.
Gabe Plotkin and Rick
Plotkin.
Schnall.
Yeah.
They own it.
Yeah, I think they have an investment portfolio.
Yeah,
right.
Melvin Capital
Yeah.
and an owner of the Atlanta Hawks who sold off his minority share to become an owner. So two very wealthy people that probably are looking at all of this bad PR and going, $500.
Yeah.
This was over
$500.
$500.
Are you kidding me?
I wiped my butt with $500. The old
This is
Gabe
why this is
Plotkin.
why the stuff like this, it's always better. It's always better to just take care of people.
Yeah.
It's always like the negative PR that they are getting and got from this is so drastically overwhelming.
Yeah. And so it's not even about that it was just such horrific decisions
Yes.
that got approved by so many people.
On so many levels.
But what does that also tell you about the culture within that organization that all these people approved it and thought it was funny and not a horrific decision?
And beyond that,
What culture?
yeah, that not only that, beyond that, The PR statement, getting cheeky, we turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And at 0 point in time, do they actually accept real culpability or responsibility? It's dismissive the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, these in all reality though, these are things that get people fired, and this is why you get I am not for like people should lose their jobs.
No.
This is a very bad decision, and
Yeah.
you should not be in the role that
This
you
is
are
like
in.
almost an entire department that should be scrapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't forget.
Todd Bosma would never let this
God, no.
happen.
Oh, no.
Look.
Blazer Todd would never let
I have
this
said
happen.
this a million times, and I've told Todd to his
Never.
face. Todd is like, if once you've been to 10, 15, 20 arenas in the NBA and you see how other teams do their stuff and like the other hosts, and Todd is the best.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, he gets
That's why he's been there forever.
27 years, something
does
like that.
All-Star games.
He goes to All-Star
Yeah.
games. He is the guy that the NBA brings in because he's that good at it.
Yeah.
Like when you go to games and you hear these other people, you're like, oh my God, this is so corny. This is so bad. It's all like, all right, let's go do this.
Yeah, Blazer Todd with I feel like if this were to happen at a Blazer game and the Blazers pulled this on kids,
Todd would
with
rip
the
it
amount that Todd like will poke fun at people in the tic-tac-toe game and just be like, really? Wow.
That's
You know?
choice.
Yeah. That I think he would be the one ripping the organization for doing the tricking of children.
If security came to rip the PS5 away, Todd would rip it back.
I'm pro Blazer Todd.
Yes.
We're lucky to have lucky to have
No,
Todd Bosma.
Todd is quite literally goated at what he does.
Hell yeah.
There is no doubt about it. We talked about the Clemson transfers. Oregon doing pretty well.
Yeah, they've picked. It was a busy day yesterday, that's for sure.
Dan Lanning using the tweets, putting the Ducks up on the board. We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty, 10 to the Fan.
judgment comes for you. 'Cause it's gonna go for
It's those dang hippopotamuses and horchata. What you guys heard still to these days? Maybe it's because I looked at the lyrics when I was a kid.
I'm sorry. Don't tell me you don't hear horchata in there.
Yeah, you.
I do now after you guys said
Or
that.
hippopotamus.
You're lying.
Yeah.
You're
But
lying.
I never.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dabo and the Clemson Tigers, they're new to the transfer portal. Oregon Ducks, not so much.
No.
And they do pretty damn well there.
Yeah, they dipped into it quite often. I think it was 14 last year. And you look at the guys that have come in, and this is what the portal does. The portal is to fill holes until your roster in the homegrown guys is developed. And the reality of it is that the world of recruiting, you hit, but you miss a lot more than you hit. And it isn't just player development, because there isn't a single program in the country that develops 100% of their players. And the world of college football, when we see numbers like 2,900 guys in the transfer portal, it is guys looking for better opportunities for themselves. But there's also coaches saying, hey, this isn't working. And either our roster is at a level to where we don't think that you can develop into one of those guys, and we are targeting other guys that are going to come in and compete. You may want to look for greener pastures. That is a majority of those 2,900 guys is coaches. And if you have a healthy culture and good communication between your players and their position coaches, coordinators, and head coach, there is an open, honest conversation about where a player is and how they fit. And, you know, you see the mass exodus when players don't buy what the coach is selling them. And, or there is no, we're just going to bring in everybody in the hard ass way. Well, Oregon, you look at the guys that they brought in. Just this year alone, Dylan Gabriel, Jabbar Muhammad, Kobe Savage. Those guys have been absolutely massive this year alone via the portal. Over the last couple of years, Johnny Cornelius out of Rhode Island. You've got Tysheem Johnson, Trayshawn Holden, Tez Johnson. I mean, there's been a lot of guys that Oregon has plugged those holes where they have built a team that is the number one seed and 13-0 and the only unbeaten in college football. The portal is wildly important, but you also need to be able to build through recruiting, and that's why you see such an emphasis by the elite programs. And Oregon ended up having the number 3 class, or two class nationally, composite 3, which did take a hit today because Dallas Wilson, the 5-star receiver out of Tampa, Florida, remember they got like the number 1 and 2 receivers. Yep. DeCorian Moore, is still on en route to Oregon. But on signing day, Dallas Wilson, there was that he's going to flip to Florida. Well, today he has asked for his release from his letter of intent and will be going to Florida. Things like that happen, sure, right? But the last 24 hours have been really good for Oregon in the portal because they've got holes to fill. You look at Josh Connerly, gone. You know,
it's his NFL dude.
Is Johnny Cornelius gone? Eligibility up. And so there's a void at tackle. And what they did is they went out and they got Isaiah World, a 6'8", 300-pound tackle out of Nevada.
I mean, the Ducks bought by the pound because the 3 guys that they brought in, the 2 tackles and the tight end. You talk about World, 6'8", 300 pounds. Alex Harkey, 6'6", 300 pounds.
And he's a Texas State transfer, Harkey is, and he is a massive human being. And look, it becomes a numbers game on you bring guys in, you see which ones the fight to develop on guys that are on the roster. And for these guys to come in, can you beat out the guys we already have here because they're trying to build depth? You look at it, it's worked out for Oregon this year with just the way that the O-line has had to be shuffled around this year with Kavika Rogers injured early, Dave Iuli injured early. You had also Marcus Harper and Nishad Strother. The depth of the offensive line has been tested for Oregon. And we saw when Poncho was able to move back to center, that's when everything cleared up. And Bedford, who was the Indiana transfer that everybody had high hopes for coming into this year, being the starter, and he's been injured twice this year, he's going to have the opportunity to be back on this team too.
No, I mean, and then you throw in the tight end transfer who popped up, from Louisville, 6'5", 265.
Yeah, Jamari Johnson, and this is going to be an
That's a
interesting
big old boy.
position to look at because you lose Terrence Ferguson and Patrick Herbert this year on the roster already. You have Kenyon Sadiq, freak, saw that in the Big Ten championship game, and then Roger Sapiolaga, who is a true freshman out of Utah, who is a guy that they're very high on. He's not redshirting this year. He's played a majority of his snaps on special teams, but he's going to be a guy that they feel very comfortable with both Roger and Kenyon heading into next year. But we see how many sets that Oregon uses their tight ends in, right? 13 personnel is not something that is unfamiliar to Oregon, which is 1 back and 3 tight ends. We have seen Sadiq, Ferg, and Herbert on the field at the same time. They need depth at that position.
And how they deploy them. Because they're all very different. You know, we were talking on Friday at the Radio Row with Jones about how Kenyon Sadiq is just a freak of an athlete.
Yep.
You know, he joked about how can that brother be from Idaho? You know, like the whole idea of like where does an athlete like that come out of a place like that? Well, I mean, Jamari Johnson is not that type of dude. He's a massive human.
And
Like and so when you have those different versatile type players of how you're going to deploy them, where you're going to deploy them, it's more game planning, it's more things, it's more wrinkles, it's more ways to utilize guys.
There is a really interesting thing at play with Oregon as well, in that they had 4 position groups where they do need to reload. All right, corner, where you're losing a ton of guys, safety. Your back end of your defense, you are losing a lot in the back end of the defense. Offensive tackle and tight end. Those 4 position groups are the priority. We're sitting here on December 19th, and Oregon has picked up Dylan Thieneman from Purdue at safety,
who I believe is the top-rated safety in the transfer class.
Theron Johnson, the corner, all Big Ten corner out of Northwestern. The 2 tackles we just talked about, and a tight end. They're not waiting around and sitting back and waiting to see. They have been proactive as they're having this time off. And look, make no mistake about it, having a first-round bye, and this may only be an advantage unique to this year, having this first-round bye while the portal is open and as active as it is right now, that's a big advantage for Oregon too, is that they can continue recruiting as they're, fine-tuning things, self-scouting, advanced scouting, one of 2 potential opponents for the Rose Bowl coming up. This is where it's not just getting healthy, it's hitting the pavement and trying to find how you improve next year's roster after the early signing period right before the Big Ten championship game.
It's a good spot to be.
Yep.
That's why it's always better to not play the extra game.
Yeah, outside of the 75 to 100 snaps you're saving your guys.
Oh,
yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Mildly helpful.
Useful.
All right, coming up next, it's Thursday afternoon. It's 2 o'clock, which means it's time for us to make our picks, our Stone Cold Lead Pipe locks for the weekend coming up in the NFL here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
From the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by PG Long Floor Covering, carpet, hardwood, or laminate flooring, cleaning, or restoration. Call PG Long, your Northwest flooring experts, pglongllc.com. First on The Fan, a battle of former Oregon quarterbacks begins Week 16 in the NFL tonight on Thursday Night Football. Bo Nix and the Broncos, they can clinch a playoff berth with a win at SoFi Stadium against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. 5:15 kick on Prime Video. The Chargers are 2.5-point favorites. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes removed from the injury report. He's good to go apparently Saturday against the Texans, despite leaving Sunday's win over the Browns due to what's been called a mild high ankle sprain. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reporting the Chiefs also expected to activate wide receiver Hollywood Brown from injured reserve in time for Saturday, barring any setbacks. Brown, he's been out since suffering a sternoclavicular injury on the first play of the first preseason game. Former Duke quarterback Malik Murphy transferring to Oregon State, according to ESPN's Pete Thamel. He went 9-3 as a starter this year, set a school record with 26 passing touchdowns. Murphy will have 2 years of eligibility remaining. And the Trailblazers back on the court tonight as part of a full slate in the NBA, hosting Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. DeAndre Ayton questionable due to an illness, and Delano Banton also questionable with a hip contusion. 7 o'clock tip on K2 Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. The Blazers are 8-point dogs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan. Danny Meringue.
Dusty Bun?
Dusty Hera.
I've been really busy. I'm trying to save the world from Russians and monsters.
This is Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and Portland's sports leader.
Of course you have.
1080.
I want to hear it.
The Fan.
Reach the stars.
Hour 3 here on Danny and Dusty on a Thursday afternoon. Whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watching along on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan, or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for hanging out with us on this wonderful, wonderful Thursday. And last week we didn't make our picks because we were flying. And we were on our way to Army Navy. So we got to get back on track with making our picks.
I tried to ask you guys to get me your picks.
Yeah, well, we had lots to do.
I made my picks.
We had lots to do. Yeah. On the season right now, Dusty and I are very close, separated by a whole half game now. Those kissing cousins are the things setting us apart. I've got 20 losses and 1 tie. You at 19 losses and 2 ties, being the only thing separating us right now.
Yeah. It's been a great year.
It's been a great year. It's been a solid year on the for entertainment purposes only picks.
Yeah, I went 2-2 last week, so I'm now at 32, 26 and 3.
Yeah, you're still
which
above
is still
board.
Not too shabby.
No, again, 51% means you're doing well.
Yeah,
and our division picks, when we revisit those when we head in the playoffs, we did mostly good, but boy did we suck on all of our 49ers picks. Those are going to loom large.
Well, you mean the team falling apart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's going to hurt. But other than that, we'll see where we end up. With that in mind, let's get into our picks this week.
All right.
Senor Dusty, what do you got?
I'm going to start. I got the Chargers -2.5 at home against the Denver Broncos. If you look at the Denver Broncos, they're 9-5 record on the season. 3 of those losses have come on the road. One of their 2 home losses this year to the LA Chargers. You got a veteran quarterback, more comfortable. And look, this game means so much for both of these teams, right? One more win and the Broncos are in. The Chargers are right there in that same territory. And so I'm going to go with the veteran quarterback at home in this matchup tonight, Thursday Night Football. I love that we get this game on a Thursday night, though. This is a game that's meaningful, it's impactful, and both of these teams, they're in a playoff hunt, in a playoff charge, so you have the playing field is level for both of them. So if not one is on a short week and the other isn't, they get that extra day of rest as they both try to make a final push and get for playoff eligibility.
I'm actually going to go on the other side of this, and this is probably the first time, not even probably, is the first time this year that I'm going to take the Broncos at any point in time. I'm going to take them the plus 2.5 on the road, making them a road dog. Look, the Broncos, when they find ways to win, it's okay. When they find ways to win, they find ways to win by just enough. And this Chargers team is anemic offensively. I mean, both these teams find ways to scratch, claw, and find points. Playing outside of Mile High, it's always something that's difficult for Denver to do. That's the comfy confines of home. But just looking at this Broncos team and what they do have in line, like you talk about, the ability to kind of secure some things and wrap stuff up and give them that opportunity to get into the playoffs, I'm going to take the Broncos here as the road dog.
All right.
Apropos of nothing, too, it looks like almost with only, 3 weeks left in the season, they probably are both going to make the playoffs anyway, because the Chargers sit there at 8-6 going into tonight, and then after that, you've got the Colts, Dolphins, and Bengals all at 6-8. So I think both the Broncos and the Chargers are going to make the playoffs. I'm going to go, though, to Kansas City this weekend. They are minus 3.5 versus Houston, and that's what the line was before they even announced Patrick Mahomes would play. That hasn't changed, so maybe that tells me that Vegas knew something ahead of time that we didn't. But I still feel pretty good about Kansas City minus 3.5.
They have ruled out another offensive lineman.
Yeah,
for this week.
And you know what? And here's the thing, though, too, is that the Chiefs, all they do is figure out a way to win.
Yep.
So
they will be out. DJ Humphries out. Jamari Connor at safety out. Hollywood Brown still out.
No. Hollywood Brown is they have activated him and from injured reserve in time for Saturday, barring any setbacks. That's been in my updates all darn day.
Well, I don't
Although
know.
I did,
it says he's still on their official injury report.
Yeah.
He remains on IR. Practice in full on Thursday. Does not carry an injury designation for Saturday's game against the Texans.
Well, although I think I did hear something about Travis Kelce perhaps not being available.
That would hurt too.
So that'd be a big one.
Oh, still hungover from T Swift's birthday.
Yeah. But that will give a chance for Noah Gray to step up, and that guy, when he has had to, he has done it.
Take the Noah.
He has.
Gray
Also,
over.
Andy Reid did say that it's a good chance that
Hollywood plays.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, your second pick?
Second pick, I'm going to go Lions minus 6.5 at the Bears. Look, lost in the. Oh, Caleb Williams is not the best rookie quarterback right now, and everybody freaking out is that since they fired Matt Eberflus, the Bears defense sucks. Is anybody looking at this right now? And I'm taking that Dan Campbell speech that he gave where he dropped multiple F-bombs on live radio. I'm going to take that to heart. I'm riding with the Lions to win by a tutty or more.
That was the only thing that scared me away was that 6.5 point line.
Nope, not me. I've watched the Bears.
I almost took it.
Unfortunately, on a Monday night.
That was
tough.
the one I scratched to take the KC minus 3.5.
Golly.
I like to keep my line small. I'm going to take the Rams minus 3 at the Jets. We talked about the dysfunction of the Jets. I wonder what Matt Stafford's Madden rating is compared to Aaron Rodgers right now. Because, look, Stafford's been a dude out there.
Yep.
And regardless of what shape or form of injury the Rams are in, they seem to get it done, man. They just... I don't know, man. They are full on Monty Python. They will gum you to death. They just find a way. And if you're going to tell me they're a field goal game away against this Jets team that has been mostly broken, I don't care if they found a little bit of something last week with Devontae and Aaron. Give me the Rams, man.
Yeah, you know what scared me about that one?
What's that?
The weather.
It's certainly there. Certainly there. We saw that 49ers-Rams game that got completely sideways.
Yep.
Yeah, so it could be the weather. I'm there with Danny, though, on the Rams minus 3 because they have won, let's see here. That is 7 of their last 9 after starting the year. Not fantastic. Yeah, and the Jets are still a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.
Ooh, the name of Aaron Rodgers' documentary.
Yes, exactly. That's also a cheating line from the movie JFK. But yeah, I'll take the Rams minus 3.
All right. My third game, I'm taking an under. Because this number doesn't make sense to me. Patriots at Bills is set at 46.5 points. Okay. Would you like to hear the weather report in Buffalo, New York for Sunday?
Give it to me.
High of 19,
Ooh, baby.
Low of 10.
Hey,
Cloudy,
staying above 0.
Cloudy, snow showers, frigid. I have watched the New England Patriots.
Prime table diving weather.
I am going to go out on a limb here and say this is a Bills get up early, put it in cruise control. This game, the only way they hit the over is if it is 45-3. That's the only way or it could be 49-0, but I don't see that happening
because they're just not going to push the ball.
They're going to be like, you know what? What do we need to run the score up for? We want to get out of this thing healthy. I see this one being a low-scoring affair. I'm going to take the under on 46.5 in 19 degrees
That is a
in
big
snow
number.
showers.
Now, I took the over.
Well, the Patriots suck.
That's true. I took the over in the big snow game that we had a couple weeks ago.
I'm a Patriots fan.
And the only reason I took the over was because I figured the game would get squirrely and we'd get some turnovers that led to long runs and somebody wouldn't know how to play in the snow. And that's what ended up happening. But that over was like 36 or 37.5.
Yep.
48's a massive number.
Yeah. 46.5.
Or 46. I'm sorry. That's almost 10 points more than the line that I took. So, yeah, get the under on that one feels nice. I'm going to take the Bucs -4 against the Cowboys. Why have you watched the Cowboys play football?
Yeah.
As bad as
I try not to.
The only team right now that might be playing worse than the Cowboys is the Giants. That's it. The Cowboys are awful on there's not a redemptive quality about that football team.
Cooper Rush didn't look as bad.
Oh God, they are atrocious. I mean, it is an affront to football.
Well, I mean, they did win by 16 last week.
Yeah.
So Carolina.
Yeah. I'll throw my hands up.
Oh, it's Carolina.
Look, the Bucs are banged up, but as long as they got Baker and Mike Evans, they have two players that are just so much better than everybody else in the Cowboys. It's hard for me to believe that they can't cover 4 points.
So while I did just kind of say, oh, it's Carolina, those Arizona Cardinals, they are at Carolina, where it is expected to be cold. And now this week, I too will introduce some audio into our NFL picks.
No, I mean, I've played in cold weather before. It's not, I don't know how cold it's supposed to be.
Like 35, 40?
Yeah.
So that's Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray on the weather report for Carolina this weekend. Carolina are 5-point dogs. While they have lost 4 straight, they've been close in most of them except for that Cowboys game. Arizona has not done great despite beating the Patriots last weekend. They lost 3 before that, 2 of them to the Seahawks and 1 to the Vikings. So yeah, I'm going to take Carolina +5 at home in the cold weather against Kyler Murray.
All right, my final game here. I'm taking another under, and it is Steelers in Baltimore for the Ravens. Okay. They played earlier this year in Pittsburgh. Final score 18-16. Here's a little ditty for you about this rivalry.
And Jack and Diane.
They have hit the over of 45 points in this rivalry twice since 2018.
Yeesh.
They play each other 2 times every single year. The last time that these two teams combined for 45 points was November 1st, 2020. So there has not been a game in 2021, 2, 3, or so far this year where they have hit an over of 45 points. So I am going to take the under of 45. I know TJ Watt is banged up. I know that the Baltimore Ravens are seemingly playing like Madden, but for whatever reason, this game always plays tight. Always plays tight and low scoring.
Apropos of nothing, may I just make one interjection here?
Sure.
And that Mike Tomlin, whenever you hear him talking like an oppressor, he always sounds like a parent that is terribly disappointed in you.
Yeah. And Pittsburgh's won 4 straight in this matchup.
Yeah.
4 straight. The scores of those games have been 18-16, 17-10, 17-10, 16-13.
Oh, by the way, this is also Tomlin on J.J. Watt's ankle.
TJ Watt, I just saw him walking around rather comfortably. But again, he's questionable with his ankle. We'll see where the roads lead us.
I'm very disappointed in you. I expected better out of you.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, weather report. High of 31 Sunday. The weather literally on AccuWeather says clear and bitterly cold. That's us points.
Bitterly cold.
I like it.
Yeah, on Saturday, nice day. It's partly cloudy and very cold, not bitterly cold.
That's an improvement.
Golly.
Good times out there. My last pick, I'm going to take the Vikings -3 at the Seahawks. Look, the Seahawks, Geno Smith says he's going to go despite the knee injury, which it's always a promising point to point out that your quarterback is going to go despite his knee injury that everybody saw and everybody knows happened, and everybody knows he's not healthy. Also, Ernest Jones IV, Travis Gibson, Noah Fant, DK Metcalf, Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, all questionable. All questionable
That
for this
doesn't
game.
seem great.
Doesn't seem great. That's basically the entirety of your offense. And the Vikings continue to be one of the best stories in the NFL, and they continue to just kind of march on. If they go out in there and they win this game, they can grab firm hold of the NFC North.
They can.
They have all the motivation in the world to go out there because the Lions are beat up.
Well, not firm hold, but
hold of.
Yeah, is if the Lions stub their toe at any point, hell yeah.
So there's a strong opportunity out there for the Minnesota Vikings to go take care of business. And the the Seahawks they need this win desperately, but they just may not have the personnel to get it done.
Nope.
All right, well, continuing the bit, I always end it with my Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey,
They're doo-doo.
Yeah, they are at the Las Vegas Raiders.
They're doo-doo also.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And so far, it looks like I went back and checked my record on the Jaguars games this year. I would have a better record if I didn't pick these games every week. I'm only 6-8 with the Jags. But they are 1.5-point road dogs at the Raiders. And so I just figured, what the hell? I'm going to go with Jacksonville. 1.5-point dogs.
All right.
There we go. Those are our picks, ladies and gentlemen. Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock-ish. Every single week, unless we're flying, of course. Our Stone Cold Up by Blocks. Coming up next, we will talk about that Thursday night football game. It's going to be a bit of a slobber knocker, but for all of you Duck fans out there, it's a nice little matchup featuring your two best quarterbacks, maybe ever.
I don't know. Marcus Mariota may have something to say about that.
No, I should say pros.
Dan Fouts may have something to say
That's
about
true.
that.
I always forget about Fouts. He sneaks in there. We'll get that more here. Coming up with Danny Dusty today, the Fan. Good old-fashioned AFC West showdown tonight as the Los Angeles Chargers. Hey, I meant to say Los Angeles Chargers without calling them San Diego for maybe the first time ever.
Hey,
it's a small victories. Take on the Denver Broncos tonight in a game that, if you looked at this on the schedule early on, you're like, I guess I got to put something on Thursday night. As you looked at, the Chargers getting Harbaugh into place and a team that was still going to be in a rebuild process, and the Broncos moving on and rebuilding their process. Instead, you have a game with real stakes.
Beginning of the year, not as great of a game as it is at the end.
But certainly not. You have a game with real stakes for both teams involved, not just one. And to be honest, you look at a lot of these late season slates, and this one might have the biggest stakes of all of them remaining, in a sense of this game matters drastically for both teams as far as the pecking order.
A win for the Broncos, they're in the playoffs. Simple as that. They win and you're in. For the Chargers, a win, and I think their playoff hopes go up to 91%.
Basically
if they win.
Guarantee.
It's huge for both of these franchises, and that's exactly what the NFL wants on a Thursday night in a standalone game at this point in the year. And I think that when you look at both the Chargers and the Broncos, the way that they've been able to do it is kind of bucking the trend of what is going on with successful franchises in the NFL right now. They're not neither one of these teams is doing it with a bona fide franchise wide receiver. Denver's doing it with a rookie quarterback and a dominant offensive line, and a defense that has been stifling. Both of these defenses have been really damn good this year.
To the point of which there's a three-way tie in the NFL for teams that have allowed the least amount of points. They are the Denver Broncos, the Los Angeles Chargers, and Philadelphia Eagles at 247.
17.6 points per game, man. And
that's a low number.
They have been stingy throughout the entirety of this season, and that's where I go to. If you're playing a defense that both of them can give up yards, but you take that bend but don't break, that's what keeps them in the playoff race. That's what keeps you in every single game, is that bend but don't break, right? Yards, that's a dumb stat because yards aren't points. Points are what gets you beat. And both of these teams are really, really, really good at, as the field gets shorter, times get tougher for a quarterback. I look at it with Bo Nix too, and that's why I'm going with the Chargers in this game. I've been really high on Denver all season long, but you have a rookie quarterback, and Bo Nix has been outstanding throughout. I mean, really all season long. If you're talking about a rookie quarterback coming in, he's been steady, and steady isn't always great. It's bad at times when you have a steady quarterback that's a rookie, but he's been consistent in he makes mistakes, and rookies are going to get got, especially when you don't have game breakers on the outside. He's asked to do so much. He is navigating it as well as any Bronco fan could ever hope. I mean, he truly is. Because of what is on his table that Sean Payton puts on his quarterback every single play. Bo Nix is doing a great job, but your good defenses especially, they're going to get you, man. And Bo's not impervious to that. He's made plenty of mistakes
but
this year.
But he's grown throughout the course of the season.
No doubt about
which
it.
Is like that's what you want to see.
Yep. And for Justin Herbert, this guy's got to be so relieved. Think of the style of play that he's in now. His numbers aren't as gaudy. His targets aren't nearly as good as they've been. But he's not asked to play like a hero. He's asked to play like an NFL quarterback now. He played 13 games last year. And in 13 games in 2023, Justin Herbert attempted 456 passes for 3,134 yards, 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's played 14 games.
So one more game.
And he's attempted 399 passes.
50 less throws.
Okay. And he has 16 touchdowns, but only 2 interceptions because he's not asked to be the hero. He's asked to be a quarterback now. And for him, like, I think for Justin Herbert, that's what he wants. And this is without the weapons. His Ladd McConkey is his best weapon.
That's the thing I was going to say. He is not being asked to deliver on expectations that are unrealistic. In the sense of
play hero ball. That's all that they did.
But not just that, but the idea of, hey, look, we know you don't have the weapons, so we're not going to ask you to try to deliver upon. Like, that's what Harbaugh does is he looks at his roster, whatever he has, and he goes, how do we optimize what we have? You look at that team, all of their money is in the defense. Are they leading the defense in points allowed or leading the league in points allowed?
Yeah.
Yes. Their tackles are very good. Their interior line, not very good.
They just need to figure out how to stay healthy on both sides
Yes,
of the ball.
yes.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, that's something I don't think that's the variable you can't control for. But the things that he can control, Harbaugh here, it's an optimization standpoint of like, look, it's a realization of like, just because you have a $50 million quarterback, it's like just because you have a Ferrari doesn't mean you need to drive at 120 everywhere.
Yeah.
It's okay to cruise on the corners. It's okay to let the accelerator run out a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to have this thing pinned all the time and go, Justin, save us, and throw the ball 55 bleeping times a game.
Well, and here's the thing is that it looks like at this point, those two teams, like I said, are going to be the last two seeds in the AFC, which means that you're going to play either at Buffalo or at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
I mean, they're not Super Bowl contenders. They're exceeding expectations right now.
Yeah.
And I think for both of them, this is the great starting point.
Yes.
For one, your rookie quarterback with a veteran coach, and two, a new head coach with a veteran quarterback. Greg Roman's offense, as they get the pieces around Justin Herbert, I think the next step is they're going to go after another tight end probably.
Yeah.
But getting a top-end wide receiver that can alleviate the pressure from Ladd McConkey and whoever that tight end is going to be. Greg Roman's offense isn't one that is conducive to Justin Herbert in the long run, but it is right now. Because look at where in Baltimore they ran into the brick wall every single season, right? It was, and it's not the fact that Lamar Jackson couldn't push the ball down the field. It was when and how they did it schematically. And everybody was like, me included, hand up. I was like, well, Lamar just doesn't have the weapons. He doesn't have the weapons. That's why they're not doing it. Well, they got the weapons, and it was still like, now you have Todd Monken comes in, and look at scheme-wise where they're trying to push the ball down the field. And Lamar Jackson has improved on his downfield throwing, but I think it's two parts. One, the work he's put in, but two, Todd Monken being a coordinator that plays to the strengths of a quarterback that can push the ball down the field. And Herbert's arm can make any throw. We know that. Like, we've seen that. Whether it's on or off platform, he's got a howitzer attached to his shoulder. But is this offense going to be one when they do get all the pieces around that is going to be, all right, we can let him loose? Because a lot of that is the play caller, not the players themselves. And that will be the interesting part to see if and how this offense does grow when they do get the weapons. But for right now, it's perfect for what they're trying to do and what they have at their disposal.
And it fits the Harbaugh MO.
Yep.
That's the thing I think it really stands out is it's a coordinator that falls in line with how Harbaugh wants to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And
you have a quarterback that doesn't give a rip about the numbers either.
Yes, the accolades or anything that comes along with it. No. So this should be a good game.
I think it'll be a great game.
I genuinely hope it is. You know, it's the standalone game that usually this time of year you're like, oh, this is not great, Bob. But instead, you get a nice solid one. All right, come up next.
A lot of times right here you get like, Browns Patriots.
Yeah, exactly. You get one and you're like, I'm good. You don't need to have this one on. It's like the NFL's version of the Bayou Bowl. All right, coming up next, one reason why all of the 12 teams of the college football playoff could go on a run or even make the championship game. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, again, a battle of former Oregon quarterbacks beginning Week 16 in the NFL. Tonight on Thursday Night Football, Bo Nix and the Broncos, they can clinch a playoff berth with a win at SoFi Stadium against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. 5:15 kick on Prime Video. The Chargers are 2.5-point favorites. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes removed from the injury report. He is good to go apparently Saturday against the Texans, despite leaving Sunday's win over the Browns due to what's been called a mild high ankle sprain. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reporting the Chiefs also expected to activate wide receiver Hollywood Brown from injured reserve in time for Saturday, barring any setbacks. Brown has been out since suffering a sternoclavicular injury on the first play of the first preseason game. Former Duke quarterback Malik Murphy transferring to Oregon State. This according to ESPN's Pete Thamel. He went 9-3 as a starter this past season. and set a school record with 26 passing touchdowns. Murphy will have 2 years of eligibility remaining, and the Trailblazers back on the court tonight as part of a full slate in the NBA, hosting Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. DeAndre Ayton questionable with an illness. Delano Banton also questionable. He's got a hip contusion. 7 o'clock tip on K2 Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. The Blazers are 8-point dogs. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Just a little bit more than 24 hours away from the college football playoff. One reason why each and every team in the college football playoff could at least win a game and make a little bit of a run.
Oh, boy. Every single one or just this weekend's games?
Just this weekend's. Okay.
Just this weekend's games. All right, good. Wow. We want to start Friday. Let's start Friday. Let's go in order these games. Let's go in order these games. For Indiana, I really do think it is the one time that we got to see them against an opponent that people thought is up to snuff and a great team was Ohio State. They got the doors blown off them by Ohio State. Think of the critical errors that they made, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was special teams miscues and mishaps repeatedly happening.
Shooting yourself in the foot.
Giving Ohio State short fields. Now, were some of them forced by Ohio State? Absolutely. But they weren't the glaring, oh, wow, moments. And I think being in that moment, we will learn a lot about Indiana, because one thing that Indiana is really damn good at, and late in the year, and especially with this first game that's tomorrow against Notre Dame where they can get over the hump, is late in the year, the effectiveness of running the football, right? Indiana has the number 1 rush defense in all of college football. That, in and of itself, right there, is going to give Indiana a chance.
It's a nice little thing you can hang your hat on the sense of a part of it is their offense is so prolific, teams can't run on them. The other part of it is they are a good run defense.
I think the run defense, it's
legit.
It's for real.
See, I think, though, too, with one of those upstart teams like Indiana, when you get in those big, tight games like that in a big game, that's where some of those mistakes start to show out, because you're not used to being on that scene. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's why I said being in that game and getting Ohio State out of the way, that's an easing... that can be an easing game for the players, even though it went horrifically
So even though it
wrong.
went that way, you get it out of the way.
If you're well coached and you have not been in that moment before, when you get in that moment again, and I think Kirk Cignetti is a great coach, when you get in that moment again, it is not nearly as impactful as it is the first time.
Good point.
On the other side of that, the Fighting Irish, outside of their loss to Northern Illinois, which was their defense this year has been the thing that led the charge. And if you look at them, the USC game notwithstanding, 49-35, most points anybody scored on them was 24. Their defense is a defense that gets after you in every single facet of the game. They have 2 of the best corners in the country. Their defensive line is an absolute monster. They put pressure on you endlessly. Miller Moss got absolutely smacked around. I'm sorry, not Miller Moss. Maava, who they brought in for Miller Moss in the USC Notre Dame game. He got absolutely smacked around in that game. And it was one of those situations where, it's USC and their offensive line has been in shambles. He was running for his life. And that Notre Dame defense, there is not a hole on that defense. The pass rush is phenomenal. The run defense is phenomenal. The pass defense is phenomenal. They are a disruptive game team on the line of scrimmage in deflections and in pass deflections in the secondary.
I don't want to mean this is like a shot to you, your USC fandom, but getting after USC isn't really something that...
Again, there was... no. He was running for his life. I mean,
it doesn't mean what it once meant, but they're on everybody quick.
And you have to make decisions quick. Now, Indiana doesn't have an experienced quarterback back there in Curtis Rourke, and it could make for... This is one of the game, I think, in here that has the best style of makes fights.
I think if you look at it and you make styles make fights, I mean, the biggest strength that Notre Dame has offensively is their ability to run the ball. Riley Leonard is a battering ram of a quarterback.
Yes.
Can he push the ball downfield? I don't know in 27 degrees in snow if you're going to need to push the ball down the field, but it's not just Riley Leonard running the ball. Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, dude, any of those 3, they can take a game over for Notre Dame. And so teams that can run the ball effectively are going to have a really good chance to make a run. And I think if you're looking at both these teams, Indiana's ability to stop the run, Notre Dame's ability to run the ball, that is circled as the matchup of this game, is Indiana's defense against Notre Dame's offense as it pertains to running the football. And it could lead to both these teams, if they want to make a run in the playoff, that's how they're going to have to do it.
You want to take a look at Tennessee, Ohio State? So that's not an order. That's
Penn State, SMU would be the next one.
Yes.
To be quite frank, I don't know how SMU makes a run.
Is this the hardest one for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either one of the ACC teams are really that great, but I will give Clemson more of a nod because of the level of talent that they do have. Jennings at quarterback has been outstanding. Kevin Jennings.
That's the reason right there. If you're looking for one, he's the reason.
He's not winning you a college football playoff, though. You know?
Yeah.
Like, they're not good in the back end on the defensive side. They are good in the front 7, but offensively, I just don't think they have the horses. Ooh, Mustangs.
There you
go. They don't have the horses to put the elite teams, and give them fits. They're balanced, but they aren't great at anything offensively. And I think that's where they run into problems in the college football playoff.
And plus, these days, the kids don't want to get cars; they want cash. They don't want Mustangs.
That's right.
They want money.
Or was it Thunderbirds like old Eric Dickerson, Craig James
the old
got?
T-Born?
Yeah. Well, the old T-Birds that they got, old T-Top. For Penn State, though, I mean, dude, their ability to play physical at the line of scrimmage, dude, they give Oregon fits.
Yes.
Oregon has been the most physical team in every single game except for Penn State. And that includes, the Boise State game. That includes the Ohio State games, where those games were closer. Penn State was menacing offensively and defensively to Oregon. Where Penn State's going to fall short, obviously, their quarterback and his ability to make big plays and big moments and opportunities. He played well against Oregon. That's not good enough to beat great teams, though, and we saw it in the Big Ten Championship.
The Penn State one for me is simple. Tyler Warren. He is that kind of guy that can just upend a game. If he makes
he's not winning a game.
You don't think so?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I mean, he's a tight end. I mean, he's not winning a game. You saw, he did everything for Penn State.
And if he had caught one pass.
I mean, they were trailing by double digits for more than 25 minutes.
I'm just saying, had he caught that one pass.
Yeah, exactly.
How different does it look?
Yeah. Probably not much different.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think he's the guy that's going to win a game, though. He is an elite player. He is fantastic, but it's your quarterback, right? It's the most important position. That's the one that matters. And Penn State, they could play in the national title game. I don't think that's not out of the question one bit. Because on that side of the bracket, Georgia doesn't have a starting quarterback.
Yeah, that's not
which is better than a Drew Allen.
Boise State is, outside of Ashton Genty, wildly limited too, right? Yeah. There is no question Penn State could be the team that is standing on that side of the bracket. No ands, ifs, or buts about it.
It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that. We'll dive into the Saturday games, obviously, tomorrow, of which there are so many things to get into. But when we get back, we'll put a nice little bow on today's show before you hand out.
We got 2 more games for tomorrow we got to talk about.
For Isaac Secure on Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan.
It's time for a Blazers report on the Fan. The inside story on the Portland Trailblazers. Brought to you by Aztec Willie's Taqueria.
The Portland Trailblazers are back in action again after a semi-long layoff. The second one in 2 weeks. We'll take on Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. And good news for the Portland Trailblazers, DeAndre Ayton is listed as questionable tonight, so they will very likely have their full complement of centers with DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams III, Donovan Clingan, and Duop Reith all active tonight for the Portland Trailblazers. The only one confirmed out right now is Matisse Thybulle, who has started doing some on-court work but not doing contact work yet, still coming back off of that high ankle sprain that he suffered a few weeks ago. After tonight, the Blazers will take on Luka Doncic and the Mavericks in a nice little double dip that's going to be a tough spot for the Portland Trailblazers to find themselves a win coming out of. This Trailblazers on the Fan is brought to you by Aztec Willie's Taqueria, the best place to go before and after games or any event. Check them out on the corner of Southeast 50th and Broadway at AztecWillies.com.
Aztec Willie's Taqueria
What are you watching tonight? You watching Thursday Night Football or you watching Blazers Nuggets?
Thursday Night Football.
Really, dude?
No?
Really?
Nothing?
Sorry, I love my Blazers, but come on.
You don't want to see some hot Jokic action?
I will tune
dual
in.
screen this?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I'm going to go one screen.
I'll have a little bit on it. I'll have
Like,
my
I'll
eye
check
on
in
it.
on it maybe, but
I'll have my eye on it. I'll go.
Throughout today's show, I've in the commercials been going back and forth, not in a negative manner. You actually be surprised. It's been a positive exchange because it's been interactions with people who are having positive opinions. Adam Silver said that they're going to address threes in some capacity, and the thing that I've come to the conclusion, I am not anti 3-pointer. I am very much the game has become too homogenous in the sense that it's very similar. I've talked to God knows how many coaches over the last 2 years. And this same goal of every offense, get paint touch, turn into 3-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, that to me is the biggest crux of the issue, quote unquote. I don't care about the ratings or anything like that. The lack of diversity in the game is the
game is boring to watch.
Yes, because I will draw, the line that I will draw here is very, very simple. Baseball was in the same place 3 years ago.
Yep.
And they made enough changes to the game to where the diversity in the game blew up. The way people went about building their rosters changed drastically in a season by making stolen bases matter, by making singles matter, by making doubles matter. It wasn't just about getting on base. It was people are bunting guys over again. Thing that analytics said was dead.
And a big reason for that is they made a small change, which is making the bags bigger.
Yes.
Right? Which upped the percentages of success in stealing, success in hit and runs, success in small ball.
How many stolen bases would Ricky Henderson have had?
A lot.
On a bigger basis? Good Lord.
But I think there's a small change that you can make to the NBA that it's not a wide sweeping one that changes the outlook of the game. They just brought hand checking back.
Could change it up.
I mean, that makes it harder to get the ball in for the easy looks that they're looking for. And you can get more into a player on the perimeter. So it's so hard to, because the hardest part about defending in the NBA right now is how many times do we see a jab step in, step back three, and you create that distance because a defender can't get into you. If you just brought back a hand check, stylistically, you would have to change the way that the game is played, which would allow for more, because you're going to be tighter to players. Also, you're going to have guys cutting and getting separation into the lane, getting mid-range jumpers back. Bring back the hand check?
That might be the simplest fix. I'm not a get rid of the corner three guy. Tom Haberstroh tweeted one at me earlier today of going to a 2, a 3, and a 4-point line, changing the math.
See, that would be interesting, but that's a major change.
So it's very,
where the downside to that is dudes just chucking 4-pointers all game from half court.
You would have guys like Steph and
Trae Young
who would Trae who would change the math. It's a very, something has to happen. I just don't know what it is just yet.
Oh man, well, it's good. It'll be good to have the NBA back in full swing. It was really
too many breaks
janky
for the cup. Too many.
Janky with the cup, but it's back tonight. Blazers take on the Nuggets at home. I saw that they were giving away tickets. They hit them in like Selwood Park.
Yeah, on the waterfront. Yeah, I saw that. It was fun, a little one.
All right, that'll do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow. Football Friday edition from noon to 3. Up next, 4 hours of power from their mouths to your ears. This is Prime Time with Us Against Soup.
Bye.